Hello, hi everyone. Good morning. Myself is Surendra. We are going to study all the Java 8 features in our tutorial. And today we are going to start our tutorial with Lambda Expressions, mostly the theory concept we are going to cover as part of our today's session. Okay, let's start with. So what exactly a lambda function is, or what exactly a lambda expression is? So a lambda function, it's an anonymous function. So what exactly a meaning of an anonymous function? Which doesn't have a method name, which doesn't have access modifiers, and as well as a return type. So if a lambda expression, it don't have any of these three things: method name, access modifiers, and as well as a return type. So usually a quick question will rise in our mind: how exactly we are going to create a lambda expression in our program? So most of the guys will think that lambda expression is a bit more complex stuff that involved in a real world. So one thing I can say that, guys, in these lectures we are going to see how easily we can create a lambda expression by considering three different examples. By end of these three examples, you will be in a position to write down at least a small logic with the help of a lambda expressions. Perfect. Let us start a first example, which is how can you create a program, basically an example, to print a simple message using a lambda expression. Good. So before jumping on to a lambda expression, let us see how exactly we can write down a method to print this logic without any lambda expressions. So I can go with a public void, maybe the method name as a login, and inside which I can write down the logic as system.out.println login to the application. That's it. So this is what I use to create any kind of a methods in my real world. So in order to convert this method into a lambda expression, I need to keep these three things in my mind, which is it doesn't have any method name. So here, copy this traditional method once again, and here lambda methods. I'm just converting it. Lambda conversion. I can say lambda conversion. So place that logic here, and as per my first rule, method name it doesn't need. So I'm just removing the method name, and it doesn't need any access modifiers too. So I'm just removing my public too. And here even it don't have any return types. So void is my return type, hence I have removed everything. So here this is what a simple method that I have created. And lambda expression usually will have a small symbol. So what I'm doing means, right after these braces, I'm just placing an arrow which is converting it into a lambda expression. See, these we are having a single line statement in a method. Instead of maintaining a single line, what I'm doing means, I'm just getting it, the logic, into a single line. Nothing much, guys. So if you observe, instead of maintaining this code into a multiple lines, we just converted this method into a single line. See here, this whole traditional method, in order to print some information, we converted into a lambda expression in a single line. Perfect. This is one example. And the second example is create a lambda expression in order to add three different numbers. Again, I'm just going with my traditional approach itself. So in this traditional approach, public void, okay, sum, maybe int a comma int b comma int c. I have specified my data types and as well as the variables. And here system.out.println a plus b plus c. So directly I'm printing down the sum of three methods. So let us convert this method again into a lambda expression. So what I'm going to do right now, so let me copy this logic again and let me paste it here. So for a lambda, if you want to convert it, you no need to specify the access modifiers. Public again is an access modifier. I'm removing it. You no need to specify the return type. Again, I'm just removing this return type. And even you no need to specify the method name. Again, I'm removing my method name. And this logic has, if you clearly observe, this method has only one statement. Instead of maintaining this logic in a multiple lines, I'm moving this one into a single line here. And moreover, for this, right after this name, you need to specify with the lambda expression. That's it. I just converted this adding of a method into a lambda expression. And the third method out over here is, if you observe the third example, create a method, okay, create a lambda expression to get or to return sum of numbers. So earlier method itself, where in which we need to return something. So what I can do means instead of using a system.out.println, where in which I can use a return statement directly. Return, right? Return ABC. That's it. I'm just using a return statement. So if I can convert this one into a lambda one, how it's going to looks like, let us see this lambda conversion again. So I'm just copying this method and I'm placing this method again. So I don't need this access modifiers. I know these return type and as well as the method name. And here, right after this one, place an arrow and whatever the logic you have in a single line, just get it here. That's it. So we have created these things. So this is the simple way. If you clearly observe, guys, if we are good with creation of a methods, we can convert those methods into a lambda expressions. Perfect. And there are some rules additionally we can implement on a lambda expression. So what are those rules means? If a lambda expression has a single liner logic, if inside the lambda, if you have a single line of logic itself, then you no need to specify this open brace and as well as a close braces. This braces is not at all required. Okay, you no need to use these braces at all. And even if you observe in this situation also, I don't need these braces. I'm just removing the braces in all the three cases. So whatever the three cases I have, the three examples I have created, it's a single liner logic itself. Hence I have removed all the open brace and as well as a close brace out over there. Perfect. And the second thing is here, as we are specifying the data types here, it's not required even to specify the data type. Java compiler will recognize the data types in a, probably, I can say, how can we convert this one means at the compile time itself, based on the operation whatever we are performing, it will recognize the data types also. So here if you observe, you have a specified int a, b and c. I have removed those data types int. So here in the third example also, I'm just removing the data types int a, b and c. And moreover, here, as we know, this method is returning something that's in a single liner code. Explicitly, you no need to specify the return keyword also. Simply, you can remove the return keyword also. So this is how we can convert a normal method into a lambda expression, guys. Okay, so these are the three basic thumb rules which you need to remember. It doesn't have any access modifiers, any return type, and as well as a method name. And moreover, if a lambda is in a single line, you no need to specify the open braces and a close braces. And moreover, you no need to specify the data type also. It will recognize the data types. And moreover, you no need to specify the return statement as well. So this is how you can convert a simple method into a lambda expression. This is what a theory concept, guys. We are going to see how exactly we can create this set of logic in a program. We will study in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Java 8 features. In the last session, we have seen a brief introduction about a lambda expression. So in continuation with that, today we are going to see an introduction to a functional interface and a sample example of creating a functional interface. Usually, a quick question will rise in our mind, how the lambda expressions and the functional interfaces both are related. So that's a different concept and that's a different concept. How you are relating these two? What is the relation between these two? So here, if you have a look at this particular point, this functional interface is used in order to invoke the Lambda expressions. Whatever the Lambda expressions template we have seen in the yesterday's class, this functional interface is used in order to invoke the Lambda expressions. That's the relation between these two. In order to deep dive the practical examples of a Lambda expression, first of all, we should have a basic understanding on this functional interface. That's the reason we are covering a couple of minutes on this functional interface. So the first point that comes in a picture is, what is this? It's just a kind of an interface itself. See, if you observe the name, it's a functional interface. It's just an interface itself. Then how come this functional interface differs from a normal interface? So here, if an interface which has only one abstract method, we can call it as a functional interface. So this is the most important point with respect to this functional interface. It should have single abstract method, which we can also call it as a SAM, single abstract method. So let us go back to our Eclipse editor and let us create this functional interface. So I just opened my Eclipse editor and I have created a new Java project for this one, and I'm creating an interface and I'm creating my own package as a scripts, and my interface name I'm giving it as a inter1. Okay, inter1 is the interface that I have created, and here public void login. This is the name that I have created. So, I'm ending this name here, or the definition here, which we can call it as an abstract method. This is an interface which has only one abstract method. We can call it as a functional interface. Perfect. And another point that we need to know is, in Java 8, we have a feature to add a default method to an interface, a static method to an interface, a functional interface, and even a main method to an interface also. All these things we can add it to a particular interface. How are we going to define that one? Anyways, we will be seeing in an upcoming sessions. As of now, this topic is more precise about a functional interface. And there is one annotation at the rate functional interface is there, which will helps us to recognize that the interface is a functional one. So what I'm doing now means I'm creating a one more a new interface here, interface inter 2, and here directly I'm adding functional interface. Whenever you have added this keyword, by default here it is showing an error message. The reason is the functional interface should have one abstract method. So define it, public void logout. This is the abstract method that I have defined. Usually a quick question will rise in our mind, without defining this annotation also my compiler is recognizing that it's a functional interface. Why again you need to define this annotation? The simple answer is, unwantedly we may add a couple of abstract methods here. Okay, public void login. Assume that I have added a one more abstract method here. As I have defined that at the rate of functional interface, my compiler will throw an error message stating that, buddy, you have defined it as a functional interface. With respect to the rules that I have, the functional interface should have a one abstract method itself. It is going to show a valid message here if you have defined this particular at the rate functional interface. For suppose in the earlier example, I don't have that particular tag. See here, public void logout. I can create a n number of abstract methods. There is a no restriction out over here, as we are not defining it as a at the rate of functional interface. Perfect, done the deal. This is a simple example how exactly we are creating a functional interface. In the next lecture, we are going to see how can I invoke the Lambda expression using the functional interface, and couple more practical examples on a Lambda expressions we are going to study in the next session, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back. So guys, in the last two sessions, we discussed about a Lambda expressions and as well as an overview on a functional interfaces. So today, what we are going to do means, let us start with a couple of examples on a Lambda expression and how to write a Lambda expression and all those things. Let us see now. So let us start with the first example. So in the previous session, we have already created a functional interface which has one abstract method. Usually, without lambda expressions, how we usually write down the logic for this abstract method. So if you can have a look at the steps here, I have documented it. So the traditional way how we are going to implement the interface, you need to create a class that should implement an interface, and then you will be creating a one more class wherein which you are going to create an object to that implemented class. So the way how we are going to create an object is interface namespace obj is equal to new class that implemented that interface, and then obj dot method name. This is the process that we guys need to follow in order to implement the interface methods and call those interface methods. As of now, what we are going to do means, let's replace this whole thing with a lambda expressions. So what I'm going to do right now means, for me, I'm just creating a new Java class. So let me create a new Java class in my editor. New class orange1 with a main method. That's fine. So here I know the syntax is basically interface and namespace obj is equal to new class that implemented that interface. So my interface is inter1 space obj is equal to new inter1. Usually when we try writing this one, your Java won't allow it. Basically it's an interface. On a right hand side, definitely you need to specify the class that implemented that interface. But as of now, this is a functional interface, which means internally it has only one abstract method. So you no need to specify that method name also. Whenever you have a specified these braces out over there, then your Java compiler will understand for which interface you are creating inter1, which internally has only one method. See, if you observe, it has only one login method. Okay, as of now, we are writing down the logic for that arrow mark, which is a lambda expression. Now I'm using system.out.println. Okay, so let me try writing down. Okay, one second, what happened here? Okay, system.out.println. So here I'm just placing down that logic. So which is login to app. So guys, if you clearly observe, we haven't specified the method name. The reason is in this interface, we have only one method. So whatever the logic you are going to write down here using that lambda expression will be implementing for that particular method itself, which is a login method itself. And how you want to invoke that? Obj dot the method that we have in that particular interface is a login. See, I'm just calling obj.login. Now, when I run my test script, see here, I'm just trying to execute my JavaScript here, run as a Java application. Say login to app got returned. So usually a quick question will rise in our mind, how we are writing down the logic in this way. So what I'm going to do right now means here, first of all, what is the method we have in this interface? Let's go back. Here is a login method. So copy the method name, come back here. I'm just explaining how I am converting that method in this single line itself. I'm placing that here and here system.out.println log into application. So if you observe, this is how you need to create a logic for an abstract method, right? Whatever the method is that you just need to provide the logic in this way. Perfect. And if you see the lambda expressions rules, basically it's an anonymous function which don't have a method name. So here login is a method name. I'm removing that method name. And if you go back here, it doesn't have any return type. So here I'm removing this void. It don't have an access modifiers. Even I'm removing this public too. So here, if you observe, this is the thing, and this will be replaced with a lambda expression. That's what we have studied earlier. And moreover, if the lambda expression is having a single line, you can remove these braces also. That's what we have seen as part of our earlier examples. See, the traditional way how to do this one and using a lambda expressions, how to deal with it. That's it. The same logic I have implemented in this lambda expression. And now when I run my test script, the desired logic, it's getting executed and it is retrieving the output to the console. So this is the way, how can we invoke a lambda expression basically using a functional interface. So here, if you observe the definition of the lambda functional interface also, functional interface is used to invoke the lambda expression. This is the way how you need to do. So this is a basic example, guys. So slowly we are going to study one example after another example. Cool. That's all I have, guys. Thank you. See you again in the next lecture. Bye-bye. Welcome back, guys. So I just want to continue with a small example out over here. Again, a lambda expression with a functional interface. So I'm just customizing my functional interface, in such a way that I'm adding one uh, abstract method to this, public int sum, and it's going to add two different numbers, int a comma int b. So this is what my abstract method is. Let us create a new class where in which I just want to provide the implementation of this particular class using a lambda expression. So I have created it, and now here what I'm doing means int2 space obj is equal to that a method is accepting two different parameters. A comma B are the parameters. This is the lambda expression that we have, and in which I'm just using A plus B. This is what that particular method outcome is. And now obj dot sum is the method. I just want to pass 3 comma 7. So this is what the sum is basically, and it's going to return an integer value. So what I'm doing directly means system.out.println 3 comma 7, and the same, 30 comma 70. I just created it. And now when I run my test script, the sum of these two numbers got printed. So I just want to explain this, how this logic was created in a single line using a lambda expression here. So the method that we have here is, this is the one. So copy this method name, place it here. And for the method definition, I just need to place it like this and return a plus b. This is what we need to create. That's fine. As part of the lambda expression, it shouldn't have the access modifier, it shouldn't have a return type, it shouldn't have a method name. And moreover, it knows the data types. The compiler knows the data types, hence you no need to pass the data types also. And moreover, if you have a return statement, you no need to define the return statement also. Automatically the compiler will return, understand basically, and it is a single line, and you no need to use the start braces and as well as the end braces. If I delete everything, this is what it's going to become. That's what I have placed it there. Okay, this is what it's going to become, and that's what I have placed it out over there as part of a lambda expression in line number 8. This is how you need to convert it. This is another small example of using a lambda expression, guys. So let's see another one more example on this. Okay, so let us see one more example basically, which will be getting the length of a particular string that we are going to pass in. So here I'm creating a one more functional interface here, interface inter3, and here what I'm going to do is public void string length method that will accept string as an input for this. Okay, this is what the method that I have created. Public void string length. This method will calculate the length of a string and it will print the length to the console. It's fine. So let me create a one more class to define the definition out over there. So orange3, I have just created a one more class here. And on this orange3, inter 3 space obj is equal to, it has only one particular method. The method whatever we have out over there is a string length, and it is accepting a string. So here I'm passing string as an argument, and s dot length method. This is what the method that we are just passing it out over there. And now obj dot string length, I'm passing Surendra. And it's just returning the value. Hence, I'm just using system.out.println obj.string. That's it. I have just specified that. Okay, remove the argument, change it to, okay, change the return type to Boolean. Okay, so what I have done here, I have done a small mistake out over here. So let us see the method that we have created. So what do we have? The length, okay, s dot length. Okay, that's fine. Obj string dot length, and let us see what it is going to return. Let me run my test script and see the outcome what it is returning to the console. See here, s dot length. Okay, this is what the problem is. Okay, system dot out dot println. Let me surround this one with a system dot out dot println. So this s dot length, whatever the length is there, I'm just surrounding it with a system dot out dot println. Okay. Now, when I run my test script at this time, the total number of characters are 8. For suppose, if I give my full name, obj dot string length, so Surendra Jagannatham, and now when I run my test script, the full length it's going to display. Maybe if I can give obj dot string length qa trainer again, so it's going to run it and it's going to display the total count. So the ultimate point out over here is how we are passing down this information is the most important thing. So the bottom line out over here is this interface is accepting a string. Hence, I'm passing string as an argument here, first of all. Whatever the value we are passing here, that will be substituted by this s basically. Okay, s is equal to, on that string, I just want to get the length operation. So maybe what I can do means instead of using a length, what else? We do have a bunch of operations that we have on this particular thing. Maybe I can use equals ignore case Surendra. Okay, I'm just using equals ignore case Surendra. So I just converted that logic into, instead of a length, I just converted that logic into equals ignore case. The outcome of an equals ignore case is a Boolean value which is either true or false. I'm passing Surendra and I'm comparing with the Surendra. For suppose if I pass my name as a Surendra Jagannatham here, and now when I run my test script, it will fail as a second time. The reason is it's accepting or verifying with the Surendra, and we are passing Surendra Jagannatham, which is not same, hence it got a failed. So guys, if you clearly observe right now, we call a or we used a lambda expression precisely using a functional interfaces. Okay, in the next lecture we will see how to use a functional how to use a lambda expression precisely on a list. We are going to study in the next session. Cool, thank you guys, take care, bye bye. Okay, guys, I just want to create a small example precisely on list handling using a lambda expression. How exactly we can use a lambda expression on a list? I just want to show you with a small example. So for which I'm creating a new Java class here, orange 4, and this class I'm just creating with a main method. So what I'm going to do right now is array list. This is of a string type basically, space list values is equal to new array list of strings, and I'm just creating an array list here. And this array list basically you'll be getting from a Java utils array list, hence I'm just importing it. And we already know that basically add is a method that we are going to use on any array list. So I'm just using Suren1 as an add, and Suren2, Suren3, and Suren4. So we have a 4 different values into this particular list. Suren 1, 2, 3, 4. And now how exactly I can use this lambda expression? So on a list, basically, we have a for each loop. And this for each loop, basically, what I'm doing means name. This is a string, basically name. What I'm going to use a system.out.println. So what is the significance of a for each? Whatever the value we have in this particular list, pick individual values, consider it as a name, and just print that particular name. That's it. So this is the Lambda expression that we have used. Usually in a normal situations, what we will be using is we can use a for loop, and we can iterate it in all the values, and then we can print down that information. The whole thing I just converted into a Lambda expression using a for each, and I'm just using this one now. Okay, as this list is having a string, I'm just defining in this way. Now when I execute my test script, now all the strings were defined, all the strings were printed down to the console. For suppose I have a, instead of a strings, basically I have a integers in my list. Okay, I'm just changing out my data type, basically integers. Okay, and just one, just change it. Okay, let me delete these things, and one, I'm just adding it five different values. So 1, 10, 100, 1000, and 10,000. So I've just used this particular one. So I changed the values that I am inserting into the list and as well as the data type. But here in the Lambda expression, I'm not changing the data type, as the reason is I haven't defined my data type there. And now when I run my test script, all the values got retrieved and all the values got printed down to the console. That's fine. This is the one way how you are defining a list. There is another way also you can define a list, basically. So which is list of strings, and moreover, I can define list values, again the same variable I'm using, arrays dot as a list. I'm passing those values here. As I have defined it as a string, I'm just passing down my values here. So string QA trainer. So basically into this particular list, I have defined three different values into that. Okay, I have defined three different values, and I'm importing this Java utils list. Okay, Java utils list got imported. And again, I'm just using this same logic. I'm not changing down my logic, which is a Lambda expression, the list values for each it's going to say that what, run this one on each and every value present in that particular list. So get the first value and then print that particular value. And now when I run my test script, the similar output it's going to return. So this is one way of defining a list, and this is another way of defining a list. But whatever the list might be, this is how you guys need to use a Lambda expression. Perfect. Done the deal. So thank you guys. We'll see you again in the next session. Bye. Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the today's session, we are going to discuss a brief introduction about an anonymous inner class and a small example on this anonymous inner class. So the point out over here is, what is this anonymous inner class? So if you go back to the previous topics that we have discussed about a Lambda expression, which is an anonymous function. So what does it means? Which doesn't have any of these parameters or names to a particular method. So the same way here, anonymous inner class itself is an inner class without having any name. Okay, good. Usually, a quick question will rise in our mind. Where are we going to use this kind of an anonymous inner classes, and how are we going to use these anonymous inner class? To understand this concept more in an easy way, so I'm just reusing one of the interfaces that I have created earlier, and this interface is a functional interface. How I am calling it as a functional interface? I know basically if an interface contains just one abstract method, I can call that interface as a functional interface. Get, that's fine. So, usually, what are all the things we need to do if I want to create an implementation class? So, what we usually do means we will create one class in which we will implement these interface methods out over there. And finally, we will be creating a test class where in which we are calling an object to the class which implemented that particular interface. And moreover, the syntax out over there, specifically I want to access the interface methods is interface namespace obj is equal to new interface name. So the whole thing is carried out in a multiple classes using this inner classes. Okay, using this particular anonymous inner classes, we can achieve the implementation and calling everything in a single class itself. So how we are going to achieve that one? Let me show you a small example. So I'm creating one new class with a main method here, and I'm naming my class as an orange 6. Okay, orange 6 with a main method. This is the class that I have created. Usually, I know my interface name is an inter1. So inter1 space obj is equal to new inter1. So usually the way how you need to create an object out over there is you need to specify here the class that implemented that particular interface. That's the way how you need to specify that. So as I am not going to implement it or as I don't have any implementations class yet, so here within this class itself, I'm going to provide my implementation using this inner class. Open braces. See here, I just opened this particular braces and here I have a defined as obj is equal to new of that particular interface name followed by this particular, okay, followed by this particular braces. And now here is an ending, I'm just specifying that. So here interface contains one unimplemented methods. See, this error message is populating me to implement that unimplemented methods. So I know the unimplemented method itself is a login. So come back here and I'm specifying my login logic here. Public void login, and I'm defining my logic, login logic in inner class. So that's what I have defined. Okay. Okay. So let me update this confirmation message here. Login logic in the inner class. That's what I have a provide. So guys, if you clearly observe, we haven't created any new class in order to implement the interface methods. Within this class itself, I'm creating these interface methods. How I am calling this one as an anonymous class? This class has just a interface implementation methods itself and it doesn't have any name. Inner class without any name, we can treat it as an anonymous class. Perfect, that's fine. We used it and we have created a class for that too. And now what I want to do is I have implemented my interface methods here. Let me try to access that methods. How you can access? Usually we have created an object for this interface. Using this object itself, we can access that implementation. So obj dot login is the method name. So whenever I'm executing this code base, whatever the login logic we have implemented in this particular implementation class, that is an inner class, that logic should execute. Perfect. Let it run and let's see the output, what exactly it's printing out. So yeah, it's taking a minute. Yeah, so login logic in inner classes was implemented. So usually without these inner classes, what it will happen means it almost looks like, or without these inner classes, your Java compiler will throw an error message, buddy, you are creating an object to an interface, which is not possible. But with this inner class, what we are doing, we are providing the implementation logic using an anonymous inner class. It means without having a class name itself, we are creating the class and even we are implementing the logic for that particular interface here. Okay, gets. And moreover here, this is an interface one, right, which has only one abstract method. So to extend this topic, so what I'm doing means I'm creating a one more interface which has multiple abstract methods. So inter 4, I'm just creating it, and let me copy this login and as well as a logout methods here. So login logout logics is there, and see here I'm just specifying login comma logout. The interface methods I'm just specifying out over here. Login and a logout are the two different abstract methods available in this particular interface. Now, I'm creating a one more class, which is orange 7 with a main method again. And let me try to create an inner class that will implement these interface methods. So here, inter4 space obj is equal to new inter4, right? This is what I have a provide. Okay, this is what I have a provide. And here specify this logic and with a semicolon. And there are two unimplemented methods are there. Specify the logic. So public void login. This is the first method. System.out.println. Uh, System.out.println login. And I have a one more unimplemented method which is a logout, and I'm changing it to logout. So here, if you observe this, we can call it as an inner class. This is an inner class without having a class name. And moreover, how many abstract methods are there in an interface? We are providing logic for all those abstract methods here. Okay, good. So this is the way how exactly we can create an anonymous inner class. And moreover here, if you observe the definition, basically whenever you try to create an interface object, Java compiler will create an error. But whereas when you are using this syntax, the logic that we are providing, we are creating a class that implements the interface, so that the above object is not for an interface. The object that we are creating is for the class that implemented that particular interface. And how you need to call that particular one means, using that object itself, we can access that information. Obj.login, obj.logout. I can call this information. And when I run it, the content will be executed. So this is all about an anonymous inner class. So in the next session, we will see how this anonymous inner class is relevant to a Lambda expression and all those things. We will continue the topic in the next session, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, guys. Welcome back. So in the previous session, we have seen a brief introduction about anonymous inner class and how to create an anonymous inner class in Java, precisely for an a functional interface and as well as an interface with multiple abstract methods. That's what we have discussed. So usually a kind of a question that rises in our mind, can these anonymous class, can it be replaced with the lambda expressions? So that's what the usually question that occurs in our mind. Usually it's not always, only in certain cases itself, we can replace the inner classes with a lambda expression. What are those cases? So if you can recollect what we have discussed about a lambda expression, so this lambda expression can be implemented using a functional interface. So it means an interface which has one abstract method. So in order to implement the lambda expression on an anonymous inner class, this anonymous inner class should implement a functional interface. Then only you can use a lambda expression, guys. So this is a small point that you guys need to consider. I know lambda expressions using a functional interface, I can provide an implementation for this lambda expression, and anonymous class. Okay, this anonymous class can support an interface implementation, functional interface implementation, even you can implement an abstract class, and in also even you can implement a concrete class. But in order to work on a lambda expression, an anonymous class should implement only a functional interface. Okay, fine. So what I'm doing right now means, earlier we have created a class which is implementing an anonymous inner class which is implementing a functional interface itself. So inter1, it has only one method which is a login method, which we are calling it as a functional interface, and this is the implementation. So this whole thing I can replace it with a lambda expression. So what I'm doing right now means, whatever the code base I have created earlier, I'm just commenting that particular code base. And let us study more about this particular interface. I know This interface contains only one method, that is an abstract method. So in order to create a Lambda expression, the rules are, if you recollect the rules basically, no method name, no return type, no access modifiers. So directly I can define this is what and an expression, followed by if there is a single liner code, no need to specify the start brace and as well as the end brace. My requirement is to just print a line itself, login logic. So I have a defined system.out.println login logic. So for the complete inner class, the Lambda expression was derived in a single line itself. The reason why I'm not specifying the method is my compiler will know basically interface of one which has only one method that's going to implement that particular logic. As it is a single liner method, I'm not specifying any braces for that. So let me do this implementation. Inter1 space obj is equal to, I'm just replacing it with the Lambda expression. So this system.out.println, I'm placing it out over there directly. This is the thing that I have implemented. I haven't done anything else, guys, just this line whatever I have done. So for this interface, which is a functional interface, it has only one abstract method. This is what the implementation for that particular method. So if you observe almost the 4-liner code or a 3-liner code, we are converting into a Lambda expression within a single line. And again, how we are going to call obj dot that particular method name for which we have implemented login. So when I run my script, the way how it executed the logic and printed the statement using a inner class, and this one would be one and the same. Okay, good. So this is the way how how an inner class, anonymous inner class, can be replaced with a Lambda expression. And guys, on top of it, usually few questions that comes in our mind. So is it possible for us to replace always the anonymous inner class with a Lambda expression? No. In the second example that you have seen, this is the class which has a two abstract methods. These are two abstract methods. You can't implement them using a Lambda expression. In order to work on a Lambda expression, it should be only one functional interface. So using this point, I can conclude that Lambda expression and as well as a anonymous inner class are two different concepts. Out of all the situations where the anonymous inner classes is there, only few occurrences can be replaced with the Lambda expression. Okay, this is what an example is. Cool. Thank you guys. See you again in the next session. Bye bye. Hello everyone. Welcome back. So in the previous sessions, as part of a Java 8 features, we have seen a brief introduction about a Lambda expression, functional interface, and as well as an anonymous inner class. As part of the today's session, we are going to see a brief introduction on a default methods. And moreover, these default methods will be defined inside an interface. Immediately, a quick question will rise in our mind. As far we know, till 1.7 in Java, using an interface, we can create an abstract methods itself. Yes, of course. So the new feature that we have in Java 8 is creating a default methods inside a interface. Perfect. Immediately, a quick question that rises in our minds. What is the use of creating a default methods inside an interface? Is it really required? Consider an example that I have an interface and I have 5 implementation classes. One interface and 5 classes that implemented this particular interface. In future, after a month, if I have added one more method to an interface, then definitely I should implement this method in all the 5 implemented classes. So it means some kind of a rework is there whenever you are adding a new method to an interface. With that reason, this default methods concept comes into a picture. What are we doing means directly you can create a default method inside an interface. It means I can say, so far all the methods that we have till 1.7 are an abstract methods. Now you can create a concrete methods in this 1.8 feature, which is a default method. A method with a default keyword, we can treat it as a default method. See, the syntax out over there is default space void space method name. That's it, and you can provide the implementation out over there within an interface. What it will happen for the implemented classes which were already implemented, basically this method, all the implemented classes can use it, or moreover, if they want to have a customized logic, even they can furthermore override this particular method logic, and they can use this particular method. This is what a main advantage with respect to this method. And let me show you this practical example in an editor. I just launched my Eclipse editor here, guys, and now I'm creating a one interface. So in this Java project, basically inter5, and for this interface, what I'm doing means I'm creating a two methods. One is a default methods. So here, first of all, let me add a abstract method, basically void login. Login is my abstract method. So I'm just adding a one more default method, which is a default void logouts. And here system.out.println, I'm doing a default implementation out over here. Default implementation in this class itself. Perfect. Now, what I'm doing means I'm creating one class that should implement this particular interface. Orange orange 8, basically this is the class that I'm creating here. And in this class what I'm doing means I'm trying to implement this interface 5, implements inter 5. Okay, that's fine, we have created that. And even let me write down my method as well. So I'm not using a lambda expression as of now, I'm just a straightforward going with the regular methods itself, so which is login logic. And now let me try to call the interface methods. Interface space obj is equal to orange 8. This is the class which provided the implementation. So obj dot, see, I can access the login method. If you observe the login, it's an abstract method. Logout, which is a default method. Login, I have already created the logic, and logout, I'm calling the default method here. So when I run my class, both the login and a logout can be executed. The ultimate outcome from this one, which you need to observe, is the default method I was able to call. That's what the point here. And moreover, what I'm going to do right now is, of course, my editor is taking a couple of minutes to load. Yeah, this is what login and as well as the default implementation. As of now, what I'm doing means let me try to override the logout logic here, which is a default method. Logout system.out.println logout implementation here. See, basically, this is a default method in an interface. I'm writing down the logic for the same method here. This concept, we can call it as a overriding, and whatever the overriding logic is there, you can find that execution here. Whenever we are executing that, the overriding logic will be executed here. That's it. This is the thing. And this default methods, we can also call it as an virtual extension methods. Basically, we can also call these default methods as an virtual extension methods. Perfect. This is all about a default methods. And immediately a quick question will rise in our mind. What is the major difference between an interface in Java 1.8 and as well as an abstract class? I know that in an abstract class, it's a combination of the abstract class is a combination of abstract methods and as well as a concrete methods. For suppose if you are doing both the things in an interface, then what is the difference between these two? Of course, we will see the differences between these two in the next lecture. But one small point that I want to show you out over here is, as of now, this is the one where exactly I'm just providing the implementation of this, right? I can substitute this one with the lambda expressions. You all know, right, how exactly we can provide a lambda expression. So the methods, which is an abstract method that we have in that particular interface, open brace, close the brace, system not out dot println, the logic is a login. As I have only a single line, I'm not providing any logics for that. See, I'm just removing this one also. Okay, I'm just removing this one, and I'm just removing this implement stuff also. The reason is I'm just providing the implementation of that particular one in this particular inner class itself. Fine, let me try to execute this one with the help of a lambda expressions. So here obj.logout that I have a called obj.login, also let me call here login using lambda expression. See, that's what, implementation class, you can maintain a separate implementation class, or of course you can use a lambda expression to provide that. But the only thing in order to use a lambda expression is this interface, whatever you are creating should be a functional interface. It means it should have only one abstract method. Perfect. This is all about the default methods, guys. In the next session, what I'm going to do now means I will be explaining about a brief comparisons between an interface and as well as an abstract class, and another scenario with respect to this interface we are going to see in the next lecture. Okay. Thank you, guys. Bye bye. Hello, guys. Welcome back. In the today's session, we are going to discuss a brief introduction about the static methods. So unlike the regular classes, how we are going to create a static methods in an interfaces, also we can create a static methods. Usually a quick question will rise in our mind: what is the significance of creating a static methods? Usually the general utilities we are going to define in an interface in a static methods. Then how we are going to call these static methods? So how it's going to work? What exactly the way you can call these static methods? So what I'm doing right now means, let me create a new interface here, inter 7, and here let me add a void login. This is an abstract method. Default void logout. This is a default method. And now finally I'm creating a static method too. So here, what exactly the way how you can create a static method? So how we usually create a method, so the same way I'm creating a static method. So system.out.println static create methods. Fine. If you remember these default methods, the thumb rule out over there is whatever the default methods we have created, these default methods were applicable for the implemented classes. That's the reason there is a possibility of overriding of a default methods. Whereas moving on to a static methods, the point that we need to consider is these static methods were not available for the implemented classes. Let me show you a class directly, and in which we can see this with an example. Orange 9, okay, orange 10. So here what I'm going to do right now means this class is going to implements the interface 7 that we have created. Okay, and definitely of course we need to add the logic for the unimplemented methods that I have already created. And now what I'm going to do right now here, let me try to access the methods. Usually if a class is an implements a class, orange 10 space obj is equal to new orange 10 obj dot the method that I have, which is a static method out over there, is a create a method. I'm trying to access out over here. It is showing that the method create is undefined. Okay, that's fine. I am unable to access using this object. I can access the static information using a class name. Class name dot, even still I am unable to access this information. So with which I can conclude that, okay, with which I can conclude that whatever the interface static methods are there, you can't use those methods directly inside the implementation classes. So as these methods were not directly available for the implementation classes, there is no possibility of overriding with respect to the static methods. Then how can I access these static methods directly? Interface name dot a method name, I can access that information. Information dot a static method name, I can access that information. get. If you go back to the documentation, basically, how can you call the interface a static methods means you can't create any object to access the information, and moreover, you can't override that information. The only way how you can call that information is interface name dot a static method name. Perfect. Immediately, a quick question will rise in our mind. We are defining a static method inside an interface. Can I define a main method inside an interface? If so, can I run an interface directly? Yes, of course, we can do that. So let me go back to the interface that we have created. This is a 7, and let me type a main method. So I just added a main method, main method inside an interface. See here, I'm just creating a main method inside an interface. And now let me try to run this particular class. See here, the main method inside the interface. Till 1.7, we don't have this feature, but in 1.8, we do have an option to create a main method inside a particular interface, and we can run that particular one too. Cool. That's all I have about this static method. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye-bye. Welcome back, guys. So in the previous session, we have seen a brief introduction about the default methods in a particular interface. Now we ended up with a small question, and what is the difference between a interface and as well as an abstract class if both are serving the same purpose? Of course, there are a hell lot of differences between these two, but I just listed down a couple of those things here. One among those things is we can't create any instance variables in an interface, right? Almost all the things whatever you are defining here is a final variables, whereas we can define an instance variables in an abstract class. And moreover, in an interface you can't create any constructor, whereas if you jump onto an abstract class you can create a constructor. And if it is a functional interface that we have created, then you can use a lambda expression with an interface, whereas you can't use a lambda expression with an abstract class, right? Even we have seen this example, the last point precisely, with a practical example in our Eclipse editor. The interface that we have created is a functional interface, and we have replaced that implementation class with a lambda expression. This whole thing is possible with this particular interface, which is not possible with an abstract class. Of course, there are a couple more comparisons are there. We can see these are the major comparisons between these two. Fine. And then the next question that I want to add up here is, for suppose as you are saying that, okay, um, we can add default methods to an interface, right? It's perfect. For suppose how these default methods are basically available on an interface can handle this multiple inheritance. What exactly the meaning of this particular one is? An example is, assume that I have an interface of 1 and interface 2. The interface 1 has a default method which is a login. Maybe the same method is there in a different interface. So interface 1 and as well as interface 2 are the two different interfaces which has only one common default method. That's fine. In this case, it's fine. But for suppose if a class is implementing both the interfaces, then what it will happen? Definitely, you will get a compilation exception. The reason is, how would your class know basically the method login you are calling from an interface 1 or you are calling from an interface 2? How exactly it knows that? So to get rid of this situation, we have two options basically. The first one is override the method in the implementation class. This is the first option. And the second option which we have is explicitly call the interface methods in the class or in an implementation class. Fine. Let me show you the same here. I'm just copying this interface of 5 and I'm placing with a new name, which is an interface 6. And this interface 6 has a default method, which is a logout. So create is my, create is my abstract method. My default method in a interface 6 is logout, and interface 5 is also a logout. Let me create a one new class where in which I just want to implement both the interfaces. Orange 8, okay, orange 9, and here what I'm going to do right now is implements inter 5 comma inter 6. Okay, implements the inter 5 comma inter 6. That's fine. Okay, first of all, let me add those abstract methods. That's fine. And moreover, if you observe, duplicate. So I have just I'm not using a lambda expression as of now, using a Java Eclipse editor feature itself. I just added those abstract methods here, and now my class is showing an exception or an error message whenever I mouse over on that. Duplicate the default methods name logout with this particular arguments. How you need to do that particular one? Okay, how exactly you want to handle the situation then? So the only point that you want to do out over here is public voids. I can say my method is a logout, right? Logout system.out.println. This is the overridden method. Basically, I'm just overriding the logic whatever we have. This is one way. Or the another way that I can do out over here is public void logout again, and here in this situation inter 5 dot, okay, I just want to call this interface 5 methods out over here. So what I'm going to do right now is inter5 dot super dot, what is the method you have? Logout. I'm just calling down that particular method here. That's it. So this is the way how exactly we can call this particular method. Okay, so here this should be super like this. Okay, now automatically this error message was gone. So interface name dot super dot a logout. So as of now, this logout, I'm using this interface 5. If you want to use an interface 6, just specify that like this. Either of these two options, you can handle this issue. Okay, good. So this is all about the comparisons between the interface and as well as an abstract class. And moreover, how you can handle this multiple inheritance issue that occurs using a default methods. Cool. Thank you guys. Bye-bye. Hello everyone. Welcome back. As part of the today's session, we are going to study another most important concept of Java 8 features, which is a method referencing. So what is this method referencing, and how are we going to use this method referencing with an examples we are going to study right now. So the method referencing is used to refer to a method of a functional interface. So a simple example for this one is a functional interface is having an abstract method. Using a lambda expression, you are going to provide an implementation for that abstract method. So what are we doing with respect to the method referencing means we are not writing down any new logics. Whatever the existing logic is there, we are mapping this abstract method to the existing logic using this method referencing concept. And this is a easy and an alternative form of a lambda expressions. Okay, so this is an easy and as well as an alternative form of a lambda expressions. So to explain this one more practical way, so I just created an interface and I have added one abstract method. And as I have mentioned, this method logic, we are referring to some other logic. So here I have created a new Java class in which I'm writing down a logic which is a delete. So assume that for now delete is a static method. So public static void delete system.out.println delete. This is the logic that I have created. So earlier, how you use it to provide the implementation for the abstract method using a lambda expression. How? This is what an expression is, and inside the braces you have a specified this logic. Right. This is how you use it to provide a lambda expressions logic. Right. The same way, how are we going to deal with this particular one without a lambda expressions? So using a method reference. So the meaning is whatever the logic you want to implement for this login, I want to refer it to this delete. So here enter 8 space obj is equal to the class which is holding that respective method followed by the method name. That's it. So this is an interface which has only one abstract method. That method logic we are referring to this class and this particular methods. That's it. So the method whatever we have in this functional interface is going to refer to this logic. So more or less, if you call the abstract method, internally it's going to execute the referred method itself. Obj dot my abstract method is a login. As and when I call my login method, internally it is executing the method that it's being referred, which is a delete method. Perfect, which is a delete method. So what is the advantage of this method references? Using this one, we can establish a code reusability. More code reusability is there using this particular method references. Perfect. That's fine. So here I have created a static method, and the syntax to access the static method references is class name colon colon this particular method name. If you can have a look at here, the syntax. If I want to provide the implementation of my method or refer my method to a static method, this is the syntax. If I want to refer it to any non-static methods, you need to provide the object reference of the class which is holding that non-static method. So here, comment these lines for now. And in this class, I'm going to create a one more non-static method this time. So the non-static method I'm creating as a create. Create is my non-static method, and I have a logic also. So to access this one or to refer my abstract method to this particular create, I need to create an object is equal to new orange 11. And now interface name space obj is equal to the object reference of that particular class which is holding the non-static method followed by the non-static method I have to specify. Ob dot whenever I call the login method, automatically the abstract method logic is referring to this create, and whatever the content we have in this create, it's getting executed. Okay, whatever the content we have in a create, it's getting executed. These are the two different ways how exactly we can use a method referencing. And usually a kind of a question will rise in our mind. Do we have any rules in order to provide this method referencing? Of course, there is only one rule, that is, see here, this method, how many arguments are there? The referring method should have the same argument types and as well as the same set of arguments itself. See, in this situation, my login is not having any arguments. That's the reason it is referring to the create, which is not having any arguments. For suppose, if my create is having an integer argument, okay, if my create is having an integer argument, see, whenever I am providing a method reference, it is throwing an exception out over here. The reason is the abstract method is not having any arguments, whereas here the method that you are referring is having an arguments, which is having an issue basically. As mentioned, the thumb rule is the argument types itself. It's not going to focus about the return type and as well as the access modifier. The main point it's going to focus is about this particular arguments itself. Okay, this is all about a method referencing, guys. See you again in the next lecture. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back. So in the previous session, we have seen a brief introduction about method referencing, right? What is a method referencing? If at all we have any functional interface, the abstract method, whatever you have in a functional interface, we are referring to a particular method which is already having some logic out over there. The same way, the constructor referencing. So instead of referring to a particular method which is having a logic, we are referring to a constructor. That's it. Other than that, there is no much difference out over there. So What I'm going to do right now is, so we already have a functional interface, which is an interface 8. I'm creating just a new class. So I'm just creating a class as a orange12 with the main method. And let me create an interface here. Sorry, let me create a constructor here. So I'm just creating a constructor here, system.out.println, and it is a default constructor. So I have created a constructor. So my requirement out over here is whatever this method, abstract method is there in a functional interface, I want to refer that particular logic to this constructor. So what is the syntax we guys need to follow in order to refer this one to a particular constructor? So inter 8 space obj is equal to, this is the class, right? So this is a reference. Usually when a constructor will be invoked with the help of this new keyword, just by using a new. That's it. I haven't done anything else, guys. I just used a new here. And now obj dot login, I'm just calling out my login method. So whenever we called out this login method, this login logic or the abstract method whatever we have in this interface is referring to the constructor, and hence the code present in the constructor is getting executed. And of course whatever the rules we have for this particular method referencing, the same set of rules we have for this constructor also. Cool. This is all about a constructor reference, guys. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello. Hi everyone. Welcome back. So as part of the today's session, we are going to study a predefined functional interfaces that we are getting as part of Java 8. One among those predefined functional interface is a predicates. So I know what is a functional interface. A functional interface contains one abstract method, and it may have a more default and as well as a static methods. That's fine. I'm not bothering about those things, but the only thing that I need to concern more about is the abstract methods. Fine. So what is the abstract method we have in a predicate? Let us see with an examples now. Where are we going to use this predicate in the real world? Assume that you have a certain condition checks, and if you want to verify something and to return as a Boolean outcome, in such situations, we can use a predicate. The best examples for this particular one are, assume that you want to check out whether a particular person's salary is greater than 10,000 or not. If a person age is greater than 40 or less than 40, in order to validate these kind of situations, we can use this predicate interface. So how many types of inputs does this predicate takes? What are all the abstract methods? Let us see let us see in a tabular format. So predefined functional interface, it's a predicates. Why are we using this one? In order to verify the conditional check, we are using this one. So what is the outcome for this predicate method? It's going to get as a Boolean value. We are going to get a Boolean value as an outcome. As I have mentioned, the predicate is a functional interface. What is the abstract method that we have here is a test. Test is the abstract method that we have in this predicate functional interface. The input that you need to pass is any kind of an input data, whether it is an object, whether it is a group of values, a string or an integer, it's up to your wish. Let me take a pause up to here. I will explain about a default and a static methods maybe in a further sessions. Now, let us take a small example and let us see how we can implement this predicates. Okay, and the business scenario or an example that I want to consider here is, write a program using predicate to verify whether the salary is greater than 10,000 or not. Fine. Assume that I don't have any predicates. So how are we going to do that? Maybe you will be creating a class wherein which you are going to use a Lambda expressions to validate certain conditions. Fine. So here I want to verify this functionality. So what I'm going to do right now means, let me go back to my editor and let us create a new Java class here. I'm copying the existing class. Oh, sorry. Let me delete it once and let me copy paste a new Java class here. So orange 9, I'm just placing it with a new class. Let me open this orange 13 class that was newly created. And I don't want all these relations. I'm just deleting the complete unnecessary stuff in that. And I'm directly adding a main method for this class. That's it. Orange 13 is the Java class that I have created, which has a main method. Now, what we observed so far is predicate is an interface. And in this predicate, we have an abstract method, which is a test as an abstract method. Fine. So what are we going to do right now is, see here, let me implement this interface. Predicates of, you need to pass an input to this particular predicate. As of now, as per my requirement, so maybe it's asking to verify the salary of a particular person. So here in this situation, I'm directly giving it as an integer. Predicate integer p is equal to, by default you need to perform the operations on the integer that we are passing. Assume that we are passing I as an integer. The lambda expression that I want to do is I greater than 10,000. So what is the outcome of this predicate? If you have a look at this one, the return type from this predicate is a boolean. So it's going to verify the condition and it's going to return either a true or a false from that. First of all, as we are using this predicate, let us import this predicate from Java utils function. See here, Java utils function and a predicate is there. And now the abstract method that we have inside the predicate is a test. See, I'm just calling that particular test. For this test, you need to pass an integer. The reason is this is the predicate that is accepting the integer, and we are using the test method on that predicate itself. Hence, I am passing around 20,000 or 15,000. I'm just passing it as a 15,000. As I have mentioned, the outcome of this predicate is a boolean value. See here, the test outcome is a boolean value. Let me directly print this information. System.out.println true. So if you observe, this 15,000 will be passed on to this I variable, and 15,000 greater than 10,000, as this value is true, the outcome of the predicate will be true. One thing that you guys need to consider, the outcome of this predicate is always true itself. See here, I'm just copying this line one more time and pasting here, and I'm changing the value to 5,000 now. So guys, we are passing 5,000 here. If you go back this one, the 5,000 is replacing here. 5,000 is greater than 10,000. The condition is a false. When I execute my program, the second time the false will be retrieved to the console. Perfect. That's done the deal. So how I am replacing this one with a lambda expression, we have already studied in a previous sessions, right? So let me try to write that logic here. Test, you know, maybe public, a boolean test, and integer value I. I'm just giving it out over here. And if I greater than 10,000, return a true, else return a false. This is how you need to write down. But whenever you are using a lambda expression, you no need to use the access modifier. You no need to use a return type. You no need to use this particular method name also. And if there is only one value, again, you no need to pass the data type also. Instead of passing this one inside the double quotes or inside the braces, I'm just removing it and I'm replacing with the predicate. And sorry, this is a lambda expression, I'm just replacing it. And here Instead of using this whole things, I'm considering I greater than 10,000. What is this going to do? If this value that you are passing greater than 10,000, it's going to return a true, else it's return the false. So the whole method that we have created, we converted into this to single line of a lambda expression. Even that's what I have used using this predicate. This is a simple example, guys, how you need to use a predicate. The ultimate point is predicate is a predefined functional interface which is used to verify certain conditional check, and the outcome from this predicate is a Boolean value. And moreover, the abstract method that we have used that we have inside the predicate is a test. That's the reason wherever you are calling, predicate dot a test itself. Okay, and for this predicate only one argument we have, which is an integer or any type that you are going to pass. And moreover, the predicate is from this function, which is java utils function. Okay, this is all about this example. In the next session we will see some more examples on a predicate. Thank you, guys. Bye. Hello guys, welcome back. So as you all know, in the previous session we have seen an examples on a predicate, one example on a predicate in the previous session. In continuation with that, to get more hands-on experience on a predicate, I just want to bring two more examples here. So let's see the first example as part of the today's session, which is check whether the person is a greater than, less than 30 or not. You need to write down a predicate which will be validating this person's age. Okay, I already have my orange 13 class. Copy paste it as a new class, orange 14. So open up this 14 now. So delete all the unnecessary stuff from this. Guys, instead of going a file new, I'm just using these options and I'm just utilizing this stuff. I deleted everything. I converted that class into a plain new class. Now, my requirement out over here is check whether the person is less than 30 or not. So here 30 is an integer. So for the predicate that you are going to create, you need to pass integer as an input. P is equal to I, and here the condition that you guys need to check on this predicate is whether the age is less than 30 or not. So here I less than or equal to 30. Let me mark it as a I less than or equal to 30. And P dot test is the method, and I am passing my integer as a 25. So the outcome of this one is always a true, or always a Boolean value. See here, I'm just using system.out.println P dot test of 25, and again P dot test of 35. Let me run my test script and see here. This 25 is less than 30. Hence, the first predicate outcome is returning as a true, and the second outcome is returning as a false. So this is the way how exactly you can verify the person's age using this predicate. As one example. And the second example is check whether the employee list is greater than 5 or not. So here, what I understood is I have list of employees with me. Okay, and I just want to check whether count of employees is greater than or equal to 5 or not. I just need to write down a predicate. See here, as per my requirement, have a list of employees. So the predicate should work on a list right now. Okay, so predicate of array list. So I just want to work on a array list. P1 is equal to, I'm passing list argument as an L, this L dot size. So, guys, basically size is a method that we are going to use on any array list. Size is greater than or equal to 5 or not. I'm just verifying it. Import this Java utils array list. Automatically, this will be solved. But in order to pass array list as an input to the predicate, first of all, we need to create that array list and we need to add the arguments. Array list of string basically, and emp data is equal to new array list of a string. I'm just creating an array list here, guys. And now to this employee data, I just want to pass on some information. How you will be using a add method in order to add down that information. Surendra 1. So I'm just passing Surendra 1. And here I'm placing this line for 5 different times. And I'm just changing out my data to 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So as of now, my employee data is a array list, which is having a 5 different sets of users inside that. Now, P1 dot, the test method we are going to use on an array list, and it's an EMP data, and just print down that information system.out.println. And now I don't want to execute the previous predicate information, hence the earlier age criteria one, the out println statements, I am commenting them now. So I have only one predicate which is executing now, which is going to verify whether the employee data is having a 5 records or not. So when I run my test script, it's returning as a true, as we are verifying in the predicate greater than or equal to 5. See, as of now, I have a 4 sets of data here into this array list. And when I run my test scripts, it's returning as a 4. The size of this particular one is a 4. As this condition is a false, the outcome of this predicate is returning as a false. That's it. So this is the way how you need to create this predicate. One thing is basically you need to check out what is the action you want to perform. Based on that action, pass on the input to the predicate and respectively verify the condition. For suppose if I want to add a one more predicate, let me create a one more program here to explain another scenario for your better understanding. Orange 15 is the new class that I have created, and assume that I just want to verify the total number of characters in a given string. So predicate, what is the input argument? My requirement is to verify total number of characters from the given string. So string is the input data that you need to give. So definitely the predicate should work on a string. String p is equal to, if I am passing s as an argument, s dot length is a method which will be verifying or which will be getting the total number of characters greater than or equal to 5. I'm just checking out whether the length of these characters, the total number of characters in this string is greater than 5 or not. And now system.out.println test is a method for which as of now you need to pass input as a string Suren. For the very first time I passed it as a Suren, and the second time I'm passing as a SUR. So let me give my full name Surendra. So whenever I'm giving my full name as a Surendra, this number of characters are greater than 5. So for the very first time the predicate will return outcome as a true, and very second time we are entering 3 characters itself, hence the outcome will return as a false. Continue it. See, true and as well as a false, it's what the outcome for this. That's it. So this is the way how exactly you can create examples on a predicate. Of course, there are a few more scenarios are there where we can consider and write enhanced logics using predicate. Let us see those examples in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Welcome back, guys. So far, whatever the examples we have discussed on a predicate are related to an abstract methods itself. So let us see what is the default methods available in a predicates, and a simple examples on those default methods as well. Okay, so what are all the default methods that we have in a predicate? And, are, and a negates. These are the 3 default methods that we have in a predicate. And the name itself will tells you, using and you can verify 2 predicates, or either of the 2 predicates one will be verified if one condition is satisfied. Negate, basically negation of something. If predicate is verifying something, if you use a negate method quite opposite to that predicate, it will work. So the example that we have created earlier is, if you can see this last example, so we are verifying whether the given string is greater than or equal to 5 or not, right? So what I'm doing right now means p dot, I'm using just a negate method right now. Okay, I'm just using a negate method right now, where in which I want to perform this particular operation on a given string, which is so. Okay, let me try to print this output. P negate on this predicate, whatever you have prepared, just verify the opposite condition. This predicate, what it will do, whenever the given character's string length is greater than or equal to 5, then only it was supposed to print true. But as I have used a negate and I am passing only 3 characters, when I run my script, the negate outcome is true. So the logic, what exactly involved in a negate is what exactly the predicate was defined, quite opposite to that particular one. The output of this negation, we will get it. So negate is the one that we are going to use to exactly opposite stuff what we have created. So here for this negate, p dot negate, and on top of it you need to use the test method. See, test method is a quite common, guys, and or a negate, whatever it might be, you need to use in this way itself the test method. Fine, guys, we have seen an example on a negate. So the next example that I want to show you here is example 4. Write two predicates to verify whether the given string is having more than a 6 characters and a string contains Surendra. Okay, so how many strings are there that contains a Surendra, and even I need to perform this particular logic too. I just want to have these logics. Okay, so this basically, okay, let me go back to my editor. Let me create a new Java program to show this particular one. So orange is 16. So this is the class that I have created. Delete all the unnecessary programs. So I just deleted all unnecessary code. So here my requirement is to create a two predicates. One is to see whether the character count is greater than 6 or not. Okay. Predicate of a string of p1 is equal to s lambda expression s dot length greater than or equal to 6 or not. This method will definitely return a true. That's fine. And the second logic that I need to verify is whether the given string contains my name or not. Okay, again, predicate of a string p2 is equal to, again, s dot. I can use a contains a method in Java where in which you can verify whether the text given text is there or not. That's fine. I have these two predicates, right? I just want to compare both the things. That's the reason. P1 and P2. So you are going to verify these two predicates, and the common method that you need to use a test. I'm giving my name as Surendra Jagannatham. And now this is what the outcome is: system.out.println. And when I run my script, the outcome is returning as a true. For suppose if I give QA trainer and when I run my script, the outcome is a false. Perfect. This is the one where we have a only one value. If I have a multiple values, how I need to deal with it? So instead of doing in this way, what I'm doing means string names, array of names. I'm just passing it out over here, and I'm giving my first name as a Surendra, the second name as Surendra Jagannatham, and the third name as Sureen, and the fourth name as Lucky, and a fifth name as Radha. So I have given these many names into this string. Now, what I want to do is I want to apply this predicate on all the values present in this array. Usually, basically, if you want to run some logic on a group of values, definitely we need to use a for loop for string of a name from names basically. So what it will happen, individual values from this name will be captured and stored here, right? So p1 dot and I'm using a p2 here dot a test, and this time I'm checking on a name. So whenever the loop rotates, the value from this particular, okay, the value from this particular array will be populated and stored here. And now if this outcome is true, Then system.out.println, both the predicates were passed. Okay, both the predicates were passed, and the data is, what is the data? Name. We have the data in a name. Just run it. So whenever we executed that, this logic will be executed on all the predicates, and the outcome will be printed down to the console. Okay, let me try to run my test script as a Java application. Oh, nothing is being printed. Let us see here. Why? What is my first predicate talking about? My predicate is asking whether the length is greater than 6 or not. And P2, the text contains Surendra. So here, the first value it's going to pass is Surendra. Definitely both the conditions are true. So at least it should print two or three names here. Why it is not working? P1 and P2 are the true predicates that we are passing, and we are using a test outcome also. Let me debug this test script and see where exactly it is failing. So I'm just debugging my test script now. Debug as a Java application. So just a minute. Sorry guys. So if you observe this debug point, and just when I am debugging it, the outcome from this particular one, we are getting as a false basically. Okay, the outcome from this one, we are getting it as a false. Why are we getting as a false? To understand more detailed way, what I'm doing means P1 dot test. Let me see what is the outcome of the P1 dot test. So I'm just trying to print down this information. The same way I'm passing this name argument to P2, and again I am trying to rerun this logic and see what is the reason why exactly it's getting failed. Let me debug this stuff again. And if you see, okay, P1 dot test name is a true, and P2 dot test name is a false. Okay, contains. Okay, here is the issue guys. The contains a character, this is starting with a lowercase. So let me rerun this script again. Okay, I have a changed it. I identified the issue and I have a changed it, and now when I run my script, the P1 and a P2 outcome is a true. So this time the script is executing successfully. Perfect. The reason why it got a fail earlier is guys, the alphabetic characters that I have a given. So because of which it got a fail, but now it's getting passed. If I comment these two lines, and when I rerun this program, the outcome it's going to display here. Both the predicates were passed, and the data is Surendra and Surendra Jagannatham. These are the two datas that it got executed and printed down to the console. Perfect. Done the deal. So this is a predicate, two predicates that I have created here, and even we have discussed about a negate example too. And a predicate using a AND operator. For suppose we can use an OR operator also. Either of these condition is true, just execute the stuff. So definitely when I run my test script, Surendra and Surendra Jagannatham got a printed down to the console. That's it. The reason is, if you observe, all these are five characters itself, and the condition was not satisfied. For suppose Suren QA, and this one Lucky Trainings, and this one maybe some other Radha Trainer. So when I run my script this time, as remaining things are having a more than a five characters, the remaining values got a printed. So the only thing is it's going to verify an or a condition here. Perfect. This is a one example on a names basically how you need to derive. And the another scenario that I want to add out over here is example 5. Write two predicates to verify whether given number is even, and okay, whether given number is even and it is greater than 10 or not. So this is what my scenario is. So this time I just need to check out whether the given number. So I need to create two predicates with an integer. So let me create a one more Java class here. Orange is 16. Okay, orange is 17. So guys, the reason why we are putting these many examples is to help you in understanding this concept in a more easier way. That's it. Okay, so predicate of integer P1 is equal to I And this time I want to check whether that is an even number or not. If I module 2 it's equal to 0, then definitely it's going to be an integer. So this is what my first condition is. So predicate again of an integer. Okay, predicate again of an integer p2. I again, what I want to do in this time is I greater than or equal to 10. These two. I want to verify both the conditions on a predicate. Definitely, I can use a AND operation out over there. So P1 and P2 of a test, and the number I'm giving it as a 10. Okay, I'm just giving it as a 10, and let me see the outcome. Basically system.out.println, and when I run my test script, okay, something got a failed here. So here we are getting a compilation issue. So yeah, the thing is, this is a number, I'm passing it as a string. The argument that I have a passed is a wrong. And now save it again and rerun the program. See, the outcome is a true. Again, like an earlier example, instead of using on a one data, why can't we store it on a multiple values? So numbers, integer of a numbers are basically I'm passing 10, 20, 30, 40, 5, 7, 9, okay, 19. These are the numbers that I have a passed, and I need to run my for loop on that. Int num from the numbers. How many numbers are there? Just get it. And here if P1 and P2 dot test of this number, run it on the number. System.out.println, both passed, okay, both the conditions passed, and a value is plus number. Now when I run my test script, so these are the numbers whose value is greater than 10 and even, okay, whose value is greater than 10 and even numbers. If I change it to R, basically, that's going to work either of these conditions, and a multiple values will be printed down. That's it. So this is the way how exactly we can use negates and or, which are a default methods that we have in an predicates. Cool. That's all I have, guys. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hi guys, welcome back. So in the previous session, we have seen a couple of examples on a predicate, and today we are going to see one more last example on a predicate. So what is the major difference between the earlier examples and this example is the earlier examples were accepting a data type as a string or an integer for a predicate, whereas at this time, this predicate is going to accept an object as an input and how it's going to work. So the requirement out over here is write a predicate to get all the employees whose salary is greater than or equal to 10,000 and their designation is a manager. This is what the requirement I have. So it means I do have an employee object with me. Within that employee object, we do have a multiple sets of users. In those multiple sets of users, I want to get a user whose salary is greater than or equal to 10,000 and their designation is a manager. Fine. So this is what my requirement is. So what I'm going to do right now is, so in order to maintain the complete employee details, what I'm doing means I'm creating a new Java class here. Okay, employee information. So I just created a new class. And for me, my major info that I need as part of my employee details are I need their name, their designation, their salary, and as well as their ID number. Okay, so string emp name, string emp ID. This is what an employment ID. These are the unique things related to an um, employee itself. String salary, string designation. Right. So that's fine. So usually EMP designation. Usually the salary would be in a double itself, but I'm defining it an integer, and the ID would also be an integer. I'm just defining integers. Two integers and as well as the two strings that I have defined, and I'm creating a constructor to pass on this particular data. Okay, I just want to pass on my data using this constructor. So string EMP name, comma, int employment ID, comma, int salary, and string their designation. So I have copied all these four into this constructor, and now what I'm going to do is this dot employment name is equal to employee name, and this dot employee ID is equal to employee ID, and this dot employee salary is equal to salary, and finally this dot employee designation is equal to designation. So I'm just passing down all the employee information here. Perfect. Let me create a new class that should have my predicate information. So orange 18, this is a class that I'm creating with the main method. Okay, in this class, I just want to create my predicates. Okay, and here guys, observe this requirement. My requirement is I want to create a predicate. Okay, that will work on employee information, and it should filter the data accordingly. Okay, it should filter the data accordingly. So for for the predicate, we use it to give right a integer or a string. Now I want to pass on this employee information for this predicate. See, come here, predicate. This predicate will work on this employee information. P is equal to, I'm considering my employee details object as an EMP, and my requirement is, if you observe, salary greater than or equal to 10,000 and designation as a manager. So EMP dot, what is the salary variable that we have a defined? EMP salary, right? Before jumping on here, first of all, let us import this predicate. I'm just importing this predicate, and now whenever we type a EMP, it's populating the information EMP salary greater than or equal to 10,000. And what is the condition that I want to verify additionally? EMP designation, which is equals to a manager. Okay, this is equal to manager. When these both the conditions are true, this predicate will return a true value. Okay, this predicate will return a true value. That's fine. We have created a predicate. But the thing is, as of now, we don't have any data for that particular class. So that's the reason what I'm doing right now means I'm just creating an array list. Array list of, and this time also I want to pass the employee details itself, new employee information of this employee details. Okay, my array list is talking about, see here, array list space or array list of these employee details, which is a list, new array list. So it means this list is going to hold this employee information. So what I'm going to do right now, list dot add. So I want to pass on the employee details here, new, and what I want to do, new here, I'm just creating an object for that and I'm passing that information. As I have a constructor, I need to pass on those details. Surendra, and the second argument for this particular one is an employee ID. Maybe I can pass it as a 1, 2, 3, 4. The third one, what is the third one that we have? Is an employee salary. Again, I'm giving it as a 10,000. And the fourth one is a manager. So this is the first entry that we have in that particular list. So assume that I have a six different entries. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, and 1,000, 100, 1 lakh, 10,000, 20,000, 15,000, designation manager, senior manager, lead, tester, again a manager, again a consultant. Assume that I have these designations and their names are Surendra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6. Perfect. So I have a list of objects which has a six different sets of data with me. As of now, my predicate should work on all these lists. So the only thing that I can do is I can use a for loop for, okay, employee details basically, okay, for employee details of emp info colon. Okay, so whatever the data we have inside the list, get one after another and store it in an EMP information. Now, the only thing that you need to pass is for this predicate, you need to pass on the employee data. So P dot test of EMP info I'm passing. If that condition is true, system.out.println data is, okay, I want emp info dot name of that particular employee. Okay, sorry, it should be a name of that particular employee plus, okay, not only the name, I want to get, okay, I want to get their designation plus I want to get their salary as well. Dot employee salary. That's it. So I just want to print this information if the condition is matching. That's it. So here, if you observe how many users are there which are satisfying these two conditions. See, here is a manager. Of course, his salary is greater than 10,000. Surendra 5 entry will be printed. And second, we have another manager whose salary is 1,000 itself. Hence, it's not going to print this one. Only out of these six records, only one entry will be printed as an outcome of this predicate. Let me run my test script and see. So this is the way, guys, how you need to create. Okay, my entry got a retrieved. Okay, for suppose if I change this one to the lead designation now. I don't want my managers. I want a leads whose salary is greater than or equal to 10,000. I have a one lead and I have one consultant too. Okay, but I'm looking for only for a lead. When I run my script, only one person information will be retrieved. So this is the way, guys, how we are going to use a predicate on a different data types basically. Okay, depending on our requirement, you will be passing down this predicate information, guys. Okay, good. Done the deal. Go ahead and practice these concepts. If you have any questions, do ping me in this comments basically. And if you like this video, do like, share, subscribe. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye. Hello, guys. Welcome back. till the last session, we have seen various examples on a predicate, abstract method on a predicate, and a default methods we have on a predicate. And the last one that we have on a predicate is about a static methods. So what exactly this static method we have in this predicate? How are we going to use this static method inside this predicate? So the is equal is a method that is a static method inside a predicate. What is the significance of this is equal? This is equal returns a predicate that tests whether the two arguments are equal or not. Okay, whether the two arguments are equal or not, in order to verify that we are using this is equal predicate. Okay, let me create a simple example so that we guys can easily understand this predicate. So what I'm going to do now means I just created a new Java class, and in which predicate of a string. This time I just want to verify these two strings. P is equal to, and the method that we have in this predicate which we are going to use is a static method. In order to access the static method, you no need to use the instance directly. I can use the predicate dot is equal method directly. I can use. First of all, let me import this predicate to my class. So I'm just importing this predicate now. And on top of this one, I'm just using an is equal method. See here, is equal. And this time I'm verifying this is equal to with Surendra. I'm just comparing this predicate is equal with Surendra. Perfect, done the deal. And now system.out.println p.test. I want to verify with Ramya. See, basically, for this predicate, I'm passing Ramya as an input, whereas this predicate is comparing with Surendra. As these two texts are not equal, the outcome of this particular predicate, which is a Boolean value, that will be a false itself. Okay, let it execute and let us see whether it is returning false to the console or not. So my Eclipse editor is loading. Just give a minute. Okay, it took a while for me to load this editor. That's the reason, I just paused it and restarted the video. See, the outcome is a false. Now, what I'm doing means, as my predicate is comparing with the Surendra, I'm just giving Surendra as an info to this one. Definitely this time it's going to work and it's going to return the first value as a false and the next value as a true. Perfect. This is a simple predicate that we can use on any kind of a strings. Right. So in the previous examples, we have also seen certain predicates where we worked on an objects. Right, guys? If you remember, we used a predicate on an object level also. The similar way here, what I'm going to do right now is I just want to pass on a predicate to compare with an object, and I need to pass on those object sets of values. See here, predicates of fruit. Okay, assume that I'm just passing fruits as an input. So predicate of a fruit, P is equal to, and here predicate dot is equal method, and I just want to compare it with new fruit of, and here I'm passing apple followed by maybe 100 rupees. This is what I was just passing it as an input. Okay, predicate of a fruit. That's it. I have just created that. And now I'm just creating a class with a name as a fruit, so that this can be used for that particular reference. So the same thing that we used earlier, I'm just using it in a reverse way. That's it. Okay, and for this class, what I'm going to do right now means, whatever the two variables that we have are defined, fruit name and as well as a price. String fruit name comma string price. So I have defined these two, I have defined these two strings here, and fruit of. So let me define a constructor so that I can pass these values as well. So string fruit name comma string price, and this dot fruit name is equal to this one. This dot price is equal to price, and moreover my price is an integer, so I'm just replacing this one with an integer. Okay, I'm just replacing this one with an integer. See here, I have created my predicate, and I am asking it to verify whether this predicate is having a fruit which is apple and 100 or not. And now p dot test, basically we can test that particular information. New fruit of, I'm passing orange, and the value is 100. That's fine. I'm just passing orange and 100. I'm just using a system dot out dot println. So my predicate is having a apple and 100, whereas I'm comparing this one with a orange and 100. So the outcome should be a false for this predicate. Hello guys, welcome back. Till the last session, we have seen couple of examples on a predicate. And as part of the today's session, we are going to cover another predefined functional interface that comes in a JDK 8, which is there as part of a Java utils function, which is a by predicate functional interface. See, almost I can see the comparisons between predicate and a by predicate. Both are one and the same. The only difference is predicate accept only one argument, whereas the by predicate accepts by two arguments. Basically the by predicate is going to accept two arguments, and moreover the usage of this by predicate is one and the same, which is to verify certain conditions based on two inputs that you are providing. You know, the predicate based on a one input you have provided, it's going to validate that condition. The same way here, the by predicate is going to work on two different inputs that the user is providing, and based on that it will verify the condition, and of course the return type itself is a boolean value. So other than passing down the two arguments, the abstract method of whatever we have is test itself. Whereas in a predicate, for a test we passed only one argument. Okay, for a predicate test we passed only one input data, whereas for this by predicate we are going to pass just two inputs data, and other than that everything is one and the same. We have the default methods end, or, and a negate for this particular predicate, which is a by predicate, and we don't have any static methods for this by predicate. That's it. On a single note, I can say both the predicate and a by predicate are almost one and the same. The only difference is a predicate is going to accept a single argument, whereas the by predicate is going to accept two inputs from the user and perform certain conditions on that. So I have created a new Java class here, and now my functional interface is a by predicate, and this time I'm going to work on two integer values. Okay, and again my by predicate name I'm just giving it as a p, and now we need to pass on two arguments. So here what is the predicate that I want to create is, okay, verify whether, verify or else first of all perform multiply operation on given numbers and check whether the multiplication outcome is even or not. Okay, that's so simple basically. So a comma b are the values that you need to pass. I'm just replacing it with lambda expression, and a star b, which is going to multiply those two values, and a module by 2, which is equal to 0, if this is going to satisfy. So what are we going to do here, guys? We are passing a comma b as an input, and we are doing a multiplication of that particular numbers, and we are cross checking the module of this particular one is a 2 or not, to cross check whether the sum is an even or not. So p dot test method again, And this time for this test, I need to pass two different numbers. So I just passed it system.out.println p.test. Let me try to run my test script and see what is the outcome it's displaying. See the outcome it is displaying as a 6. 2 into 3, it's a 6 and it's an even number. For suppose again I am passing a one more argument set of arguments 1 comma 3 and let me run my by predicate. See here the second outcome we are getting it as a false itself. Perfect. So this is what the test abstract method that we have in a predicate. Now I am going to use the negate method, whatever we have in a by predicate. So what exactly the negate is going to do? You know what exactly the predicate is there? The quite opposite function the negate is going to do. The same way here, let me comment these two lines of a code. And here p dot negate of test, and here okay p dot negate of a test, and here I'm passing 1 comma 3 as an input. Usually I know 1 comma 3 outcome for this by predicate is a false. As I am using a negate, the outcome should come as a true. That's it. That's a simple point. Like the same way how I'm using this by predicate negate, the couple other options which we have is a N and R. We can use the same way how we have used as a predicate. This is all about by predicate functional interface. Thank you. Hello guys, welcome back. Today we are going to study another predefined functional interface which we have in a Java 8, which is a function. Again, this falls under Java utils function package itself. So what is the significance of this particular functional interface? Means it will perform the operation and it will return any kind of a data type. So if you can compare this one with a predicate, basically predicate is going to perform certain check and it returns a boolean value. So always the outcome of the predicate is a boolean value, whereas the outcome of a function is any return type. It's going to perform any kind of a return type out over here. Again, as it is a functional interface, definitely there should be one abstract method. The abstract method that we have in this function is an apply. Apply is the abstract method that we have. And if you can see on a high level, what exactly the implementation of this functional interface of function, it is accepting the input data as a T argument and R as a return value. And here apply is the method which is going to apply on the data and it's going to perform a return value. That's it. This is a simple way. How you have a defined a predicate, the similar way we are going to define this function, a functional interface also. So what I'm going to do now means I have a couple of examples listed down here to show you how this function looks like. So the first example out over here is take an input and convert the given string into a lowercase using a function. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do right now means let me create a new Java class here, class orange22. Okay, and I'm adding a main method too. I just created a new Java class, and on this class I want to implement the function. So here function of, see, my first scenario that I want to perform is input is a string and convert the given string into a lower cases. So it means the input is a string and the outcome that we are getting from this function is also a string, as we are converting the given, okay, as you are converting the given function into a lower case. Okay, both are strings itself. Okay, fine. Function f is equal to, okay, before performing the further operation, let me import this function. So here the import Java utils function as a function. Earlier predicate, and in this example we are importing function. And now the input argument which we are passing it as a string itself. S. On this S, I want to convert it, the given string, into a lowercase, and I just want to print as a return value for this. Okay, fine. And what is the abstract method that we have on this function? Apply is an abstract method. So go back here, f dot apply of I'm passing my string here, and my string that I want to pass here is Surendra. This is the string that I'm passing. Directly use a system.out.println for this. And now when I run my program, see the given string was converted into a lowest case is using this function. Okay, using this function, the given string was converted into a lower case. This is all about an example one. Okay, this is all about an example one. And let's move on with the next example that I have defined in this document. Write a function to replace the space with the dollar in a given string and return the same string. So this time, what are we going to do? We are giving a string, and in that string, if any spaces are there, replace it with a dollar. That's it. So again, I'm creating a function. This time also I'm passing a string and I'm expecting string from this s. What I'm going to do with this one, I would like to replace wherever the space is there, replace it with a dollar. Okay, I just want to replace that space with a dollar. F dot apply. This is Surendra. I'm just passing this string as an argument. And now let me try to run this function. Okay, let me try to run this function and see. S dot replace of wherever the space is there. Okay, so the issue I have done here is the function that I have created is an F1. So let me change this one to F1 and let me run my test script. See here, it got executed. So what is the issue earlier? Why it was not printed? So the function I have created with a name as a F1, whereas I was referring to F, that's the reason it doesn't execute it basically. So now I'm just changing it to F1. And now when I run my test script, it's going to replace the given string and it's going to update here. Perfect. This is all about the second function. And let's move on to the third example. Write a function to get the length of the given string. Okay. The next example is I just want to give string as an input and I want to see the outcome as the total number of characters in that string. So what I'm going to do now means let's go back, comment this function, and I'm writing down an example 3 function. This time my input is a string and I'm expecting its outcome as an integer, the number of characters. F2 is equal to, on this particular string, get the length. That's it. I'm just, whatever the string I'm giving, get the length from that particular string. F dot apply of Surendra. And I'm just using system.out.println of apply. So this time, I need to be more cautious. So I just need to pass on F2. And again, F2 dot apply, and this time I'm changing my name to Jagannatham. So when I run my test script, the number of characters in these strings were retrieved. That's it. So this is the way how exactly we can create a third function. And the last example that I want to show you here is write a function to perform a multiply operation of a given number. Okay, so let me create a one more function here, and this function example 4 function. So here I'm giving an integer as an argument and I am expecting integer as an outcome from that. Okay, integer space integer. F3 is equal to what I'm going to do, whatever the number I'm giving, I just want to perform multiplication operation on the same number itself. So, okay, the spelling is wrong. Function, function. Okay, function, it's accepting an integer and this time it's returning an integer also. F3 dot apply of, I'm giving a 10, and now system dot out dot println this one and system dot out dot println 20. So let me comment the previous applies. Okay, and let me run my script this time. And when I executed, the multiplications of this number got retrieved. So this is the way how can we use this predefined functional interface function with these many examples. We will continue with the further examples of this function in the next session, guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Hello everyone, welcome back. As part of this section, let us continue with a furthermore example on this function. So the simple thing is, from the employees object, I just want to get their designation. Okay, I just want to get designation based on the salary ranges that we are providing for an employee. So for which, what I have done means I just created an employee information class where in which I'm maintaining the employee name and as well as the salary. That's it. And now I'm just creating a new class, pink one, with the main methods. So here I want to create a function that should apply on this particular, okay, that should apply on this particular employee info. So let me open this one. So here a function that should apply on an employee info. And if you observe what it needs to return, the designation of that employee. So the designation is always a string. So function string space f. And let me import this Java utils function is equal to. So what exactly my requirement is, I want this from the employee details basically. I want to verify the conditions. So here, what exactly the conditions? We are passing the salary, right? Employee name and a salary. Based on the salary, I just want to filter it out. So open braces, close the braces of this. And here, what I'm going to do is if emp dot salary greater than or equal to 20,000. Okay, if the employee salary is greater than or equal to 20,000, then what I'm going to do now means I just want to return the designation as a string. So string designation is equal to null. First of all, let me define a variable string designation. Okay, and here if the employee salary is greater than 20,000, then the designation is equal to manager. Else if employee salary is greater than or equal to 10,000, then here the designation is equal to lead. Else if employee dot salary greater than or equal to 5,000, then the designation is equal to fresher. That's fine. I'm just marking it as a fresher. And here, what I'm going, so this is a string, right? This is a string basically. I'm defining here and return designation. This complete function is returning a string and that is a designation. Perfect. This is the function that we have created. And now create an object for this one. E1 is equal to new employee information of, I'm giving a name as a Surendra and the value of this salary, I'm giving it as a 15,000. So this is the salary that I'm giving for him. So the only thing that I need to do is whatever the function is there, I want to apply on this entry. So f dot apply of E1 on this employee one entry, just apply this particular function. And when I run my apply button or when I use an apply method now, so here, if the salary is greater than or equal to 10,000, then the lead designation will print. For suppose if my salary is 25,000, which is greater than 20,000, then the manager is going to print. If my salary is a 5,000, I'm going to print fresher as my designation. So this is the way how exactly we can create this function. And basically this is a single info, right? I don't want to define a single info. I just want to pass multiple sets of employee information. So it means array list of this employee information space list one is equal to, okay, new array list of this employee information. Import this array list Java utils array list. And what I'm going to do right now is I just want to add that information. So list one dot add. This is the info I want to add it out over there. So Surendra, and the second entry is Radha 15,000, and the third entry is Ramya 25,000. I have a three sets of data in this array list, and now I want to apply this function on this particular list of arrays. So the only thing is for employee info emp details colon for every value present in the list. So whatever the values we have entries, it's going to pick one value and store it here. And now directly I'm going to print down this information. F dot apply emp details and directly print this information. So when I run my test script, all the values are getting printed down here. Fresher, lead, and as well as a manager, all the values are getting printed here. So this is a simple function. So what additionally we can do is here we can add a predicate to this function, and inside of this loop, instead of printing these details directly, we will verify the predicate. If that outcome is true, then only print this information. So what I want to do right now is here I'm creating a predicate, and this predicate is going to accept the same employee information itself. P is equal to import this predicate from a Java utils. What I'm going to do now means employee emp dot salary greater than or equal to 20,000. So here, what is the predicate that I have created? I created a predicate whose employee salary is greater than or equal to 20,000 itself. So what exactly my requirement is from the given list of resources. Now the customized requirement is I just want to print only the managers. So I know the salary for the managers is greater than or equal to 20,000. That's the reason I created a predicate where in which I'm just using the salary. Perfect. So what I'm going to do right now, if predicate dot test apply on these employee details, if this condition is true, then only print that employee details. Other than that, don't print the employee details. So out of these many entries, it should print only the Ramya details whose designation is a manager, right? So when I run my script, this one manager got a printed. Okay, manager got a printed. Additionally, if you want to see the name, basically employee details dot ename. So I just want to see the name of that particular employee along with the designation followed by a name. So when I run my script, see manager Ramya. So what we have done right now, so we are using both the predicate and as well as a function combinedly in this particular example. Cool. Done the deal, guys. See you again with the further examples in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, guys. Welcome back. So in the previous session, we have seen a brief example on a functional interface with an abstract method, which is an apply. As part of the today's session, we are going to see about the default methods, which is and then in a compose. We can call these two as a function chaining. So how this function chaining is going to work, let us create a simple example with which we can easily understand. So here I have created a new Java class, and I want to create a function which will add the numbers, and again the another function multiply the numbers. Okay, add the numbers and as well as a multiply the numbers. Function of course the return type is an integer itself, and as well as the input argument is also an integer. F1 is equal to what I want to do, we are going to pass I as an argument, and it should increment the I by I itself, I plus I. That's going to be my first function. And the second function, Again, it's going to accept integers itself, and it's going to perform operations on an integer. Function f2, again, I is equal to I star I. So this time I am performing a multiply operation out over there. So f1 dot, I know basically I can use an apply of a 5. So system.out.println of f1 of apply of a 5. The same way, system.out.println f2 apply of a 5. So whenever I'm giving 5 for the first function, 5 plus 5, it's going to return a 10. And 5 star 5, the second 5 is going to return 25. 10 and 25 are the outcomes for this particular two different functions which we have in a separate manner, right? That we have in a separate manner. Okay, there is some issue with my editor. Just give me a second. Okay, it's not loading up. So 1 second, guys. Let me pull my editor and then we'll continue. Yeah, so I just continued the same example, guys. So when I open my editor, this is what the example outcome is showing. Let me rerun the program so that we have a continuity. See here, 10 and 25 got a return. Perfect. So what I want to do is, let's add these two functions together using the default methods and then first and a compose later. What is the significance of the and then? So let me show you an example. Comment these two. F1 dot and then F2. So it means it will execute the function 1 first, and later it will execute the function 2 as an outcome. Okay, the first function will run on a 5. 5 plus 5, this outcome is a 10, right? 10 will be passed on as an input here. 10 star 10, the outcome overall it returned as a 100. So whenever we are using a and then, first the first function will be executed, and then the second function will be executed. Perfect. This is what a significance of an and then. And then f1 dot compose of f2 dot apply again. Still I'm passing okay 10 here. Assume that I'm passing 10 here. So what I'm going to do now, compose, whenever you use a compose, it will execute the function 2 first. So for function 2, it will go 10 and 10, 10 star 10, it's going to be 100, and then it's going to perform this second operation. So system.out.println f1 of a compose of a f2 dot apply. When I run my test script this time, we are getting it as a 200. For suppose if I move it as a 5 and let me run my program, see we are getting it as a 50 for a compose. Whereas if you use an and then, so that you guys can compare the differences between and then and a compose, and then is returning 100, whereas a compose is returning 50. The reason is, first this operation is performed and then the second function will be performed, whereas using a compose, this action will perform first and then this action will be performed. That's it. So both the functions will be executed, but the only thing is the execution order will change because of these default methods we have. Cool. Done the deal, guys. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back. Till the previous session, we discussed about the various abstract methods that we have in a function and the default methods that we have in a function with an examples. And the leftover, the last concept and a small concept that we have is a static method inside this function functional interface. That's an identity method. So what exactly this identity method is? So identity method will always return its input. So whatever the input you are giving to the identity method, the same input it's going to return as an outcome. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm doing means I'm just creating a new functional interface for this function. So here function space, and here I'm passing string. So the outcome will always be a string. F is equal to, so what I want to do this time, I want to call a static method. So the static method here is an identity. So this is what the method that we have a call. Okay, this function, we are calling this a static method. And then f dot apply, and I am passing Surendra here. Okay, that's fine. So the outcome of this particular method is always a string. So I'm trying to store it in a string s1 is equal to and system.out.println s1. Okay, let me try to run my test script and see this Surendra is getting printed. For suppose the input argument I am passing it as a string and I'm trying to change it to an integer. So the identity is throwing an exception stating that, buddy. So it should be of the same type itself. It shouldn't be of a different data types. Then only this identity is going to work. Fine. This is a simple example on identity, and of course, we are using very less preferences of this identity method in a real world. Cool. That's all I have, guys. See you again with the next topic in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, guys. Welcome back. Till the previous session, we discussed about the functions and examples on various functions that we have, which covers abstract method, default methods, and as well as the static methods in functions. Today, we are going to discuss about a bifunctions. The difference between function and a bifunction is only the bifunction is going to accept two arguments. It's one or less, or more or less same as a bipredicate itself. Bipredicate and predicate are one and the same. Only the bipredicate will accept two arguments and a predicate will accept only one argument. Whereas here also the bifunction and a function are one and the same. The bifunction is going to accept a multiple two sets of arguments here in this bifunction. And the same abstract method that we have apply will be there on this bifunction, and then the default method that we have that is applicable on this bifunctions is and there is no static method for this bifunction. So let me create a simple example for this bifunction. So what I'm doing means bifunction of I'm passing two integers. Of course, I am expecting integer as an outcome. B1 is equal to A comma B. These are the two values that I'm passing, A plus B. Okay, so I'm just passing two integer values. I'm expecting this bifunction to add those two numbers. B1 dot apply. I'm passing 10 comma 10 as a bifunction input. System dot out dot println, and that's it. So the same way, I just wanna create another bifunction. So bifunction of integer comma integer, again an integer. This time I want to perform a multiply operation on both these numbers. Okay, A star B. See here, B2 dot apply of I'm just passing 10 comma 10 again. Let me try to print this information again. So when I run my script, the bifunction of these two different things are getting printed. Maybe we can create a one more example like a bifunction of string, a string, and again I'm getting a string. So here B3 is equal to maybe uh, S1 comma S2 are the two different strings that we are passing out over here, and then S1 plus S2. I just want to add those two strings. Okay. So here B3 dot apply of Surendra is my first string and Jagannatham is my second string. So system.out.println, when I run my test script, Surendra Jagannatham will be printed down to the console. That's it. When I run my script, the Surendra Jagannatham will be printed. So this is the way how exactly we can use a bifunction functional interface with a couple of examples here. Cool. That's all I have. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello everyone. Welcome back. In the previous session, we have seen a brief introduction about functional interface. As part of the today's session, we are going to study one more predefined functional interface, which is a consumer. And again, this consumer is from Java utils functions itself. And what is the significance of this consumer and how this is differ from predicate and as well as a function is, I know predicate will accept one data type and it's going to return a Boolean value, and function will accept an input type and as well as it's going to get a return type as an output for me. The similar way, what this consumer is going to do means it's going to accept the data types or a input type. It's going to perform some operation and it's going to return anything basically, or not, I can say, it's not going to return anything. It's going to just return a void as an outcome for that. Okay, as I have mentioned, consumer is a functional interface. Definitely there should be a abstract method inside that. The abstract method that we have in this particular consumer is an accept. Let me show you the tabular format. See, this consumer is going to perform operations and it's not going to return any value. The return type of this abstract method itself is a void, and the abstract method that you have is an accept, and the input data that it needs is basically any set of input information you can give on a consumer. Okay, fine, perfect. So what exactly the syntax for this interface consumer input data, and this is an abstract method accept, and it is accepting the input data, but it is not returning anything. It's just a void for that. Perfect. So let us see these 5 examples on this consumer so that we can get a better understanding on that. So the first one is print the given string using a consumer. So I will give a string. I just want to print that string using a consumer. So consumer of string. So we are giving string as an input. So let me import this consumer first. I want to print that particular information. So here, the only thing that I can do out over here is system.out.println, and I'm just printing the string that we are passing in. Whatever the string that we are passing in, we are just passing it. C1 dot accept is a method. I'm giving input as a Surendra. For suppose I have a given input as a Surendra. So this consumer is just printing that particular information. Now, when I run my test script, see here, Surendra got a printed down to the console. So let me add a comment here, example 1. Now, what is an example 2? So let me stop this. I'm just commenting these two things as I am done with this functionality. Print the number of characters in the given string. So the consumer will accept string as an input in this case. So consumer of a string again, C2 is equal to S of S dot length. See here, I'm trying to get the length and I'm leaving like this. So whenever I'm just leaving like this, basically consumer of a string S dot length. So this S dot length is a method which will be retrieving the number of characters from the given string. And now C2 dot accept is a method I'm calling Surendra as of now. Okay, I'm just calling Surendra as of now. And now let me try to run my test script. So let us see what exactly it's executing. 1 second, where is my console? Yeah. Okay, so what happened to this consumer? Why it is not considering it? Consumer C of a string basically, and string 2 as dot length. The reason why I'm thinking out over here is this consumer usually it's not going to return any value. The outcome of the consumer is always a print statement itself, which is a void system.out.println s dot length. Now when I run my test script, see here there are a total 8 number of characters defined in this consumer as a dot length. So I was able to get this consumer, and the return type for this one is a void itself. Cool, done the deal. This is all about a second example. Let's move on with the third example. What is the third example I want to create? Perform operations on an integer using the consumer. Okay, this time my requirement is an integer. So I'm passing integer C3 is equal to I of system.out.println I star I. So I just want to multiply that operation. C.accept of 10. I want to just go with a multiplication of a 10. See here, 100 got a retrieved and it got a printed to the console. Perfect. So let us see the example 4. So what exactly this example 4 is saying means print the complete employee details using a consumer. So here, this is not a single thing. Basically, I just want to print the employee details. Okay, that's fine. Previously, I have a created one class, which is an employee info class, wherein which we have an employee name and as well as the salary. Consider this class and I want to print this information. Okay, so let me create a consumer for the same. So consumer, this is going to accept the employee information, and on every employee, okay, I have to print multiple lines of information. System.out.println, I want to print an employee name plus, okay, I just want to print an employee name plus employee. I'm adding an employee salary here. That's it. So this is the consumer that is adding an employee name and as well as an employee salary in a single line. That's fine. This is what my consumer for is. Okay. To work on this information, definitely I should have a records for this employee. Even is equal to new employee information of Surendra and his salary. Assume that it's 10,000. And now we need to call this consumer. C4 a dot accept is a method and a even of information. Okay, I'm just asking it to accept this even of information. So when I run my test script, see this information got a retrieved and it got a printed down to the console. As of now, you have a only one set of a entry. If you want to create a multiple sets of entries, the only thing that I need to do is I need to create an array list, right? An array list of this employee information. Space list one is equal to new array list of this employee information. I just created a simple array list here. Let me import this array list, and into this array list, let's add the information. So this is the information that I am adding to this array list. So I have a one entry into this array list, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I assume that Surendra 1, 2, 3, a 4, and a 5. I have a 5 entries. Salary is, 100, 10, 100, thousands, 1, and a 10,000. So this is what my salary of these employees. Now, if I want to use this consumer on all these values, what I can do, for basically this for should work on a EMP information on every value present in a list. And here, what I want to do is C for a dot accept of EMP information. So whenever we use it this information, automatically it will print the complete information. So here, what I thought is, okay, that's fine. It's just printing down the information as part of the fourth scenario. And the last scenario that I have on this consumer is print only whose salary is greater than or equal to 10,000. So in order to verify certain conditions, definitely I need to use a predicate of integer p is equal to I of I greater than or equal to 10,000. This is what the predicate I have created. So I want to verify the outcome of this one is a greater than or equal to 10,000 or not. If p dot test basically, and so here this time the p is not going to work on this integer. Basically my p should work on the set of values, right? The predicate whatever I'm going to create should work on a set of values itself. If the employee salary is greater than or equal to 10,000, so for this predicate again I am passing this employee information. See here, as of now, whose salary is greater than 10,000? Surendra 5 is having a 1 lakh, okay, and Surendra 1 is having a 20,000. Let me try to run my test script and see what this is printing. See, this is printing the two information. So what we have done right now, we added a consumer and as well as a predicate in this example. These are the various examples that we can play with a consumer, guys. Okay, cool. That's all I have. See you again in the next session. Bye bye. Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. In the previous session, we have seen various examples on consumer abstract method, which is apply, and roughly 4 to 5 examples that we have covered on this one. As part of the today's session, we are going to start with the default methods that we have in this consumer. And the default method that we have in a consumer is and then. Okay, this we can also call it as consumer chaining. Basically, we can establish some kind of a cyclic relation between a multiple consumers. Okay, that's fine. So the default method that we have here is an and then. Of course, there is a no static method available for this consumer. So what I'm going to do right now is, in the previous session, we have created two consumers. If you observe, the first consumer is going to print the string, and the second consumer is going to print the length of the given string. So let me copy paste the same program. I just want to use the same program here. Okay, I just want to use the same program. Whatever the logic other than this one we have, I just want to delete that whole logic from this program. So this logic, I don't want it. So here I just deleted this whole logic. Okay, so as of now, my class is having a two consumers. If you have a look at this one, my first consumer is printing the given text, and my second consumer is calculating the total number of characters in the given text. That's it. So what I'm going to do right now as part of this chaining is C1 and then the next consumer dot accept of Surendra. So I'm just giving these two. Let me comment the direct consumer execution. I just want to execute only this one itself. Now, C1, first it will execute the consumer one with this Surendra. So what we have in a consumer one, whatever the text you are giving, it's going to print that particular text. And then the second consumer, it's going to execute. And this time the length of the character, how many number of characters are there in the given string, it's going to print. So it's going to print two different print statements as an outcome for this test case. See here, the first outcome is Surendra and the second outcome is 8 characters. For suppose if I have a passed Surendra Jagannatham as an input, the first output should be Surendra and the second output should be the number of characters that we have, which is an 18. Okay, so this is all about a consumer chaining concept that we have in this consumer functional interface. Cool. Done the deal, guys. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back. As part of the today's session, we are going to study about a by consumer. See, if you observe, the consumer and a by consumer are one and the same, almost one and the same. The only difference is consumer is going to accept one argument, whereas the by consumer is going to accept two different arguments. So the same difference that we have noticed in a predicate and as well as a functions. Predicate and by predicate is one and the same. By predicate is going to accept the two arguments and by function is also going to accept two arguments. The similar way, the by consumer is also going to accept two different arguments, and the return type of this by consumer is void. It's not going to return anything. And the same abstract method which we have, which is an accept method. And here the only thing is we just need to pass two sets of input, and this default method that we have in a by consumer is an and then. Fine. So what I'm going to do right now is to elaborate more about this by consumer. I have created a new Java class and I have imported this by consumer. And now, so by consumer of string comma string. So I'm just passing two different strings here for this by consumer, string 1 comma string 2. So my requirement is I just want to print that information. See here, system.out.println, whatever the both the strings are there, just concatenate both the strings and print down that information. C dot accept is a method. So I'm giving my first string as a Surendra and the second string as a Jagannatham. I have given both my strings to a by string, and when I run my test script, Surendra Jagannatham, that it got a printed down to the console. So this is the way how exactly we can use a by consumer accept method. Okay, cool. And in continuation with that, we have a one more default method that we can apply on a by consumer, which is a and then. We have already seen we should have a multiple consumers for that. So what I'm doing right now means I'm adding a one more by consumer. My first consumer is a C1 and my second consumer is a C2. And this time what I'm going to do means S1 dot equals ignore case of S2. So basically, my second consumer is going to compare those two different strings that we are passing, and it's going to result a result whether it is a true or false as I am using a print statement. C1 dot and then of a C2 dot accept. I'm passing Surendra and Jagannatham, two different strings. I know these two strings are different. So for this, okay, for this particular operation, first it will execute my by consumer first, and then the second consumer will be executed. So when I run my script, Surendra, Jagannatham, and false got returned. For suppose if I have a given both my strings as a Surendra. When I run my test script, Surendra, and true got a retrieved to the console. So this is the way how exactly we can use a by consumer method with examples. Cool. That's all I have, guys. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. As part of the today's session, we are going to study about a supplier, which is another predefined functional interface available in a Java 8. So the ultimate objective of this functional interface is it will return something. Okay, this particular supplier will going to return something. As it is a predefined functional interface, the abstract method that we have in this functional interface is a get. So let me show you more details about this one. This is a supplier. This is get something basically like I just want to get a system date. I want to get a random number. I want to get a random name. If you want to get all these things, we want to use this supplier, and we are accepting a return value from it, and we don't have any specific input data required for this. Only input that you need to pass out over here is a return type, and the method that we have here is a get. And there are no default methods and as well as the static methods. The only abstract method that we have on this particular functional interface is a get. And if you see the implementation, basically interface supplier R, and R is a return type of this particular get. Perfect. So let us see these three different examples so that we can understand this concept more clearly. See here, my first example is I just want to get the current system date using this supplier. So what I'm going to do right now means let me create a new Java class here. And in this new Java class, okay, I just want to create a supplier. So whatever the content is there in a previous class, just delete it. Supplier of, and here what it needs to get the date. It's going to get the date as a return time. S is equal to, first of all, import this supplier first. I'm just importing this supplier, and of course this is the Java utils date. I'm just importing this Java utils date also. And this supplier is not having any input argument that we are passing. That's the reason I'm just passing out a blank data here. And what I want to get, I just want to get new date. So whatever the date is there, it's going to return this particular date. That's it. Perfect. And as I told you that s dot get is a method which we are going to use in order to get that particular information. So here I'm just using s dot get method. So when I run my test script, automatically the current date it's just printing down to the console. This is the way how exactly we can create a supplier. Perfect. So this is all about the example one. And the second example out over there is generate a random number. I just want to generate a random number. In order to generate a random number in Java, we have a math.random method, right? So here, supplier, and this time the outcome from this supplier is a number basically, right? So here integer s2 is equal to, what I want to do as part of this one is I just want to generate some random logic, random number logic, right? So this supplier, so first of all, math dot random, and it's going to generate some random number, and I'm just multiplying this random number by 10. This is what I just want to return it. Okay, whatever the random number it's generating, I just want to print that a random number, and I'm converting the whole thing into an integer. That's fine. I just typecasted this one and I'm converting into an integer. Now, system.out.println s2.get. So I'm calling it for the very first time. See here, s2.get, I'm calling it for 5 different times or 6 different times. When I run my test script, okay, so here we are getting some exception. Let's see where we are getting this exception. Public static void main. Why? Let me see this exception, more details about it. Oh, there are some compilation issues here. One second. What is the issue we have? Okay, it's related to the braces. Just relate these braces. Okay, so I don't have any issues in my program. Now let me run my program. This time it's generating a number based on, okay, based on a math.random, and it is generating a random number here. So this is the second example, how exactly we can create a supplier in order to generate a random number, in order to generate a random number for this. Okay, good. So this is all about an example too. And the third example that I want to work on this supplier is I just want to print a random string basically. Okay, so how exactly this random string is going to print? Okay, so let me create a supplier, and this time it's going to print a string on a random fashion. So I have a given string, and now in this particular supplier, what I want to do is random string. How I need to generate is I'm going to pass my set of strings here. String names is equal to, let me pass my names here. Surendra 1. Right. So I'm just passing multiple sets of data, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. So here, let me change this one to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And I'm just creating my array basically 4, 2, and a 3. So I have created my random number. That's it. I just created my strings here, first of all, 1 to 10. So what I'm doing right now is, so in order to get one value from the string, directly I can use the names of I. Right. So return names of I. If I can pass this I value, that is a random number, automatically it's going to pick one value randomly from this. So I have already used a random number logic earlier. So int I is equal to the random number generation, and I'm just using I here. So whenever we use a math.random of multiplied by 10, it's going to get all the values in between 0 to 9. The reason is, the okay, the reason out over here is basically the minimum value that we can get from this number is 0, and the maximum value that we can get is a 0.9. And whenever we are multiplying by 10 and are typecasting it by an integer, so definitely it's going to fall in between 0 to 9 itself. That's fine. And now here, what I'm going to do now means system.out.println s3.get. See here, I'm just using an s3.get. So this s3.get, I'm placing it for 3 different times or 5 different times. And now when I run my test script, randomly the string is being picked. See, one time it's 8, 6, 5. If you call a multiple times, dynamically it's going to print this information. Perfect. Done the deal. This is all about a supplier. Usually, one more point that rises in our mind. So, for predicate, a function, and a consumer, we have already discussed about a by predicate, by function, and a by consumer. Don't we have a by supplier here? The reason out over here why supplier is not having a by supplier is the significance of a by is it's going to take two input arguments. Whenever it is taking a single input argument, using a by we are converting into a two different arguments. That's the reason we are adding a by predicate, by function, and a by consumer. Whereas moving on to the supplier, we are not at all passing any input data for that. Directly we are passing a return type. Hence there is a no point of a by supplier here. Okay, cool. So these are the various kinds of a predefined functional interfaces. And in this session, we discussed more about this supplier. Cool. That's all I have. See you again in the next session. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, welcome back. As part of the today's session, we are going to study an overview on a streams concept available in Java 8. So this is a new abstract layer that is introduced in Java 8 itself. The main objective is if you want to process your data in a declarative way, we are going to use this streams concept. This streams you will be getting in a java.utils.stream package, and my requirement is if I want to perform operations on a collection of objects, we can go with this particular streams. So an example for this one is I have a collection of strings with me or a list of strings with me. I want to perform some operation on that. Maybe I want to get all the strings which are starting with the Surendra name. I want to perform the strings which are having an even number of characters. These kind of an operations I want to perform. So in order to do all those kinds of an operations, this streams comes into the picture. Immediately a question will rise in our mind. Of course, whatever the examples you have conveyed, we were able to do right now till with a 1.7 version. What is the major advantage with that? I can say with these streams, the way how you are coding, the number of lines of the code, everything, the complexity is everything getting reduced here in an easier way. We can implement those functionalities using this particular streams. Perfect. Then immediately another question that triggers in our mind, what is a Java IO.stream? Generally, if your requirement is to perform operations on any particular file, whether to read down the information or to write down the information into a particular file, we are going to use this Java IO.stream. And we all know that what exactly a collection? Collection means group of objects or a group of information representing as part of a single entity. We can treat it as a collection, right? And moreover, on any collection, the method that we are going to use is a stream method itself. That's fine. Good. So far, it's really good. Then what are all the various methods that we have on this particular streams? So I will start with the two methods first of all, which is a filter and as well as a map. So my requirement is I have a list of information. On that list of information, I want to verify certain condition, and based on my condition, I want to filter out that particular data. In such situations, we are going to use this filter. So it means we have a collection of data on which you are processing the stream, and on that particular stream I want to apply certain conditions. In such situations, we can go with this filter. I want to get only the odd numbers, means specifically I want to get some data from the entire collection. Frame filter is a method that we are going to use on this particular stream. Okay, and moreover, this filter is going to get the data based on the conditions itself. That's the reason this filter implementation includes the predicates. We have already seen the predicate. This filter interface implements, okay, includes the predicate itself. Fine. So how you are going to implement this means on any collection you have a stream followed by a filter in which you are going to write down the logic for that particular filter. Okay, fine. I will show you an example on this filter. So both the filter and as well as a map, I will show you with an example. So let me continue this topic with a map example so that I will show you both the things with an example. So the thing is map. So the ultimate objective of this map is, okay, whatever the data you have in a collection, I want to perform certain operations on data. Okay, so you assume that you have a string basically in a lower case. I want to convert that a given string into an uppercase. So it means if I have a 5 strings in a collection, whenever we are using a map, ultimately the outcome is also having a 5 strings itself. Whereas if you compare with a filter, assume that there are 10 numbers that you have a given, and out of which there are a 5 even numbers and a 5 odd numbers. The filter method will be getting only certain information, which is a 5 objects. Whereas moving on to a map, so how many set of information you have a passed for this particular map, the same set of information it's going to retrieve based on the desired operation that you are going to perform. So here, if we want to perform operation on all the objects present in a collection, we can use this map method, and this map is internally implementing the function, predefined function. And here, assume that you have a collection. On the collection we are going to use a stream, and on that stream we are going to use this particular map. Perfect, done the deal. Let me go back to my Eclipse editor now, and let me try to create a collection on which I want to apply this stream filter and as well as a map methods. Let me switch to my editor now. Yeah guys, I just created a new Java class with the name as a blue one in this scripts2 package. And now what I'm going to do means, let me create a list basically, where in which I want to store group of integers. So here numbers, and here new array list of, again, this is going to be on an integer. So import this Java utils list, and let me add the numbers to this one. Numbers dot adds 0. Okay, let me place these things here: 0, 10, 20, okay, 15, 30, and 45. So here I have added 6 different objects, or let me add one more thing, which is a 60 and 75. I have these many numbers in my list. So here, this number is a collection of integers, and we have almost 8 integers are there stored here. Okay, and numbers dot. So here, if you remember this particular syntax that we have seen in this document, collection dot stream dot a filter, if you want to apply a filter. So so let me put the syntax here: collection dot stream dot a filter. This is what the syntax here. My collection is numbers dot stream is a method, and here I'm going to use filter. See, for this filter, it's expecting a predicate, basically a condition. Okay, in this predicate, so you need to pass on a condition. So what I'm going to do is num is equal to, or lambda expression num module by 2 is equal to 0. Okay, num module by 2 is equal to 0 dot. Okay, so let me stop it here. This is all about my filter, how exactly I can write down a filter. So it means on this list we are processing it as a stream, and on this stream I'm filtering the data which are even numbers itself. Okay, I'm just filtering the data which are even numbers itself. Perfect. This is all about a filter example. So what are we going to do up next after filtering the data? Maybe once we studied about a further methods, we will see more about this one. But as we studied till the filter, this is the one example on a filter. And the same way, numbers dot stream dot. Okay, here what I want to do, map. So as part of this map, I want to perform a condition. Whatever the data you are giving, I just want to perform certain conditions. So I assume that number is the one that I have given. This number plus 2. I'm just incrementing this number plus 2. That's it. I'm not doing anything basically. So in this situation, maybe as I have given 8 elements, maybe even would be 3 or a 4. Whereas in this situation, as I have a given a 8 elements, all the elements with its incremented values will be returned. Okay, cool, done the deal. This is all about a stream, filter, and as well as a map methods. In the next session, we will continue with the further methods. Thank you. Bye bye. Hi everyone, welcome back. So in the previous session, if you observe, we have seen two different examples on a filter and as well as a map. So in continuation with that, let us see furthermore examples on collect and as well as a count methods available. So what is the significance of this collect is it's going to collect the elements on a particular stream and return as a collection. That's fine. So the syntax for this one is collection dot stream dot either filter or a map, and we can collect that particular outcome. An example is collect all the elements in the collection which are of an integer, which are of a even numbers, or collect all the elements from the given collection which are starting with an S as a character. Something like that. I just want to do this a collection operation. So what I'm going to do right now is let me go back to my Eclipse editor here, and this is the program that we have created. So as I told you, we can use this collection on either this filter or on this map also. So let me copy this line and paste it here, dot collect, and here I want to collect it as a list. Basically the whole information I'm collecting into a list. So what it's going to happen, initially on these numbers we are applying a stream, and on which we are filtering the even numbers, and whatever the even numbers are there, we are collecting as a list. So let me store it in a system.out.println. I'm just directly printing down that particular info. Let me try to run my script and see what it is printing. See here, which are all the even numbers are there from that list, it's going to print that. Perfect. And let me copy this map example and let me paste a collect on this map also. Okay, see here, dot collect of, I'm again converting or collecting into a list. Basically, this time, what this map is going to do means whatever the numbers you have given, on all the numbers, increment by 2 and collect it as a list. And again, this time also, I'm printing down that information. And when I run my test script, see here, I have a given 8 values, all the 8 values with incremented by 2 values got a retrieved. Perfect. This is all about a collect. If you go back to the document here, okay, so let me pull this document once. Yeah. So here, write down a filter which will start with an even numbers that I have already completed. Convert the given string into a lowercase or an uppercase. So it's up to your wish. So here, what I'm going to do right now means, let me create a new list of strings here. Array list of strings. I'm naming it as a names is equal to, okay, and I'm naming it as a names is equal to new array list of a string. Okay, I'm just defining my names, and a names dot add of Surendra as my first name, and I'm just giving a multiple names here. So Ramya, Daya, Sneha, Swapna, something. So I have given these many names into my list. Okay, so my requirement out over here, if you can see now, I want to convert the given strings into a opposite case. See here, I have given all the strings into a lower case. So what I can do means I can convert the given strings into an uppercase. So here I was studied about a filter and a map. Filter is derived only for a conditions. Basically map, you can perform operations. So here names dot stream of map, I want to map it. So on each and every string, basically, okay, see here, on each and every string, convert it into an uppercase. to uppercase, convert it, and now collect all those things. Okay, collect all those things as a list. Just print down that information. I'm not storing it in a separate list now. I'm just printing down that information. See here, whatever the given names are there, all the names were converted into an uppercase. Perfect. This is another example that we have a seen on it. Good enough. So as of now, we use a collect method, which is going to collect that particular information. And we have a one more example basically, which is collect all the strings which characters are more than 5. So from the given list of strings, I want to get certain characters whose length is greater than or equal to 5. So we are verifying certain conditions. Definitely we need to use a filter out over there. So filter S. On this S, what I want to do, S dot length greater than or equal to 5. And this time again I am collecting that information. Okay, I'm just collecting that particular information. Again, print the size or print the total number of values. See here I have given these many values, and when I run my test scripts, okay, this time all the values got retrieved. So what I'm doing right now means, let me change my character count to 6, the length to 6. And when I run my script, only these two strings are having a more than a 6 characters. That's it. Perfect. Done the deal. Yeah, this is all about the collect method, guys. So the next method that we want to discuss as part of this streams is about count. See, the count, how it's going to work means how many number of objects are there, we are going to get that count. An example I can say, assume that we are applying a filter. Okay, on top of the filter, how many results are there, we are going to collect it. Okay, so this kind of a count means how many values are satisfying this condition will be retrieved as part of a count outcome. So here what I can say is, here is an example where we have a used a filter, right? So let me copy this line and paste it here. I don't want to print it as of now. See here, if you observe, names dot a stream of a filter, and on this I'm using a direct count method. So it means what it's going to do, how many names are there whose characters are greater than 6, it's going to get just that a count itself. So system.out.println count examples. I'm just writing down my count examples here. Now, when I run my test script, there are two strings which are satisfying this particular condition. That's it. We can just use this count and we can perform these kinds of operations on this. That's it. Okay, this is the way how exactly we can use a count and as well as a collect methods on a stream. Cool. That's all I have, guys. See you again in the next session with the further examples. Bye bye. Hi everyone, welcome back. So as part of the today's session, we are going to discuss about a further more methods we have in this stream. One is a sorted method and another one is a min and as well as a maximum methods with examples we are going to see as part of this today's session. So the first one is, what is this sorted? So the thing is basically in the given list, get the elements by its sorting order. Okay, just get the elements whatever we have in the list by using a sorting order. Okay, that's fine. So here the sorted is having two different methods. One is a sorted and another one is sorted by using a comparator. So it means if we want to go with a default sorting order, then we can go with a sorted method. And if we want any customization of a sorting, basically you need to pass a comparator for that. Usually the default sorting method or a sorting order for any kind of a numbers is an ascending order, and the strings is basically an alphabets. So what I want to do means, let me create an example with this sorted method for both the numbers and as well as the strings. So here what I'm going to do right now means, let me create a new class which is going to be a blue2. See here, blue2 with the main method. And what I'm going to do right now means from my previous class, I have already created an array list of numbers. I'm just copying that list and I'm placing it here. Okay, see here, I just created an array list and I have placed it here. Now what I'm doing means I'm just placing this one in a random order so that my numbers will be with a random order complete. Okay, see here, I'm just placing this stuff. Perfect. So I have a jumbled disorder basically, guys. If you observe, these many elements are there in this particular list with the different orders. To cross check the numbers once, what I'm doing means I'm just printing these numbers once. When you printed down these numbers, 75, 60, 10, 30, 20, 45, 15, 0, there is no proper insertion order for this. It means I can say the numbers are in a different orders. So it's not in a dynamic, it's not in an ascending order, or it's not in a descending order. It's into a different order completely. So what I want to do means using this sorted method, I want to sort these numbers into its default sorting order. So numbers dot stream again. On this stream, I'm using the sorted. As we have mentioned, the sorted is having a two different methods. One is a sorted, which goes with the default sorting order, and the next one is a comparator. So what I'm doing right now means I'm just going with the default sorting order dot. What I want to do right now, whenever you perform a sorting of this particular one, just collect this information into a list, and of course print down the complete information. System.out.println and print the complete information. See, from the numbers you are applying a stream, and in which you are going with the sorting, which is a default sorting order, and collecting as a list. See here, when I run my test script now, this is what the sorting order is. So if you see the earlier list and this one now, I'm just printing both the things basically. So this is the default values that we have a given, and this is the sorted values that we are printing right now. That's the difference between these two. See here, I'm just adding a comment. Example once, default sorting for numbers. Default sorting for numbers. Okay, good. So what I'm doing right now is I'm creating a one more array list. Example 2, default sorting for strings. Okay, default sorting for strings. I'm just creating a one more array list, and this time I'm just storing all the things within names here. Okay, I just want all the names. Now names dot add, I'm giving Abhi as my first name. Okay, my first name is Abhi, and my second name is Boss. My third name is Chiru, and my fourth name is Devil, and my fifth name is Evil. Okay, so here I'm just giving these things in an order. So again, see here, the order that I'm preserving here is an ABCD basically. Okay, I'm just starting with the A B regular characters itself. I'm just processing that info. Okay, good. So this is the order that we have a given. Now let me print these names once. System.out.println names. I'm just printing down this info. But prior that, what I'm doing means whatever the print statements we have as part of the earlier example, I'm just commenting them. Now when I run my test script, Evil, Abhi, Boss, Devil, and Chiru. This is the order, a default order that it got printed. Now on these names, what I'm going to do is on these names, I just want to apply a stream first, and later I want to go with a default sorting order and collect them as a list. And finally, print that a complete list. So when I run my program this time, what it's going to happen means this is the given list, and this is what a sorted list is. As I have mentioned here in this particular document, the numbers are sorting with an ascending order, and the strings are starting with an alphabetical order. This is all about a sorted example. And we have another example sorted with a comparator. So what I'm doing right now means, let me comment these two, and example 3 sorted with a specific comparator. Okay, I want to go with a specific comparator in this situation, and that too, that's the given numbers and as well as the strings itself. So here numbers a dot, I'm using a stream again, and this time I'm using a sorted of a comparator. I know basically the comparator is having a compare to method for which you need to pass two arguments. A comma B are the two arguments that I am passing out over here. A dot compare to of a B. This is the method that we are using. Okay, and once after we performed this sorting order, again I just want to collect that information. So collectors dot to list. That's it. So guys, I haven't done anything else basically. The only thing that I have added here is a compare to method. For this sorted, I'm just adding a compare to method. And now when I run my test script here, all these values are coming in an ascending order. If I want to come with a default descending order, so whenever I just pass a minus here, it's going to negate this one, and see here the negative or the descending values, it's populating as a sorting order. Fine, perfect. This is on a sorting order with a specific comparator on a number. The same way, example 4, sorting using comparator on a string. Okay, I know I have all my strings are defined in a names itself, and I'm using a sorted of. See here, s1 comma s2 are the two different strings that we are passing. S1 dot a comparative of S2, and again all these information collected into a list. That's it, and the whole information printed down to the console. And if you run your script, all the things are sorting in an assigning order again. So alphabetical order. So if I give a negate, basically the quite opposite to the earlier one. See here, E D C B A. This is the order which it got retrieved. This is all about a sorting example, guys. Okay, this is all about a sorting example with the help of a sorted method. Perfect. And there is a one more method that we need to discuss out over here, which is a minimum and as well as a max method. Min and as well as a max. So here from the list, whatever the minimum value is there, get it. From the list, whatever the maximum value is there, get it. So usually a thing will happen is, if you consider my list here, basically this is the list of numbers. If you run it and see the values, this is the list basically. The numbers whatever we have in this list are in a jumbling order, whether not in an ascending order or not in a descending order. If that's the case, how come my min method or a max method will get an accurate value of a minimum or a maximum number? That's the reason internally, either for this min or for the max, we need to pass the comparator, so that it will first of all sort it in an order, and then from that order it will get the minimum value or the maximum value. Okay, so perfect. So what I'm going to do right now means, let me add a one more example here. Example 5, get minimum number from the list. Okay, so I have already given my number, numbers dot, okay, numbers dot, convert it into a stream dot minimum. Okay, that's fine. I just want to get a minimum number. In order to work on a numbers, basically the comparator, we have already given a dot compare to of a B. That's it. We have just given this particular information, and simply get that particular value. Print this information. Okay, print this information and see whether it is getting the minimum value or not. See, in the numbers, these are the numbers, and the minimum value is 0. The 0 was captured here. Okay, the 0 was captured here. The same way, example 6, get max a number from the list. Whatever the maximum number is there from that list, get it. See here, what I'm going to do now means, numbers a dot, again stream dot max this time, and for which a comma b are the two numbers, in which a dot compare to of a b, and simply get that number to, and the whole information I'm printing down. See, as of now, guys, if you clearly observe whatever the operations I'm performing, I'm directly printing down to the console. If you want, you can store it in a list, or you can store it in an integer, or based on the data types, whatever we are getting, you can store that information. For now, I'm just printing down that information. Okay. Example 7, get the a minimum string from the list. Okay, whatever the list is there, get it basically. Names dot stream dot, okay, min, and here for this a min, a comma b, again the same logic, I'm not changing. A dot compare to of a b, again get it, and print this information. So this time when I run my test script now, see, an alphabetical order, A is the one, it's just getting that particular one. If I change it to max and if I run my script, my E value is there in that particular list, which is an evil, it got a printed down to the console. That's it. These are the various examples that we can use it on a list with the help of a streams basically. Okay, cool. So in the next session, we will continue with the further examples, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. In the last session, we have seen a couple of examples on min, max, and as well as the sorting methods available in a stream. And as part of the today's session, we are going to consider further more methods. For each method, this for each almost looks like a for loop or a for each loop available. So basically, what this for each is going to do means it will pick each and every value present in a stream and it will perform operations on that. Maybe I want to print that information. I want to apply some other logic. In such situations, we are going to use this for each loop. So L dot a stream dot a for each loop. And an example that I want to show you out over here is print an element present in a list. How exactly we can print an element present in a list. So what I'm going to do right now means I'm trying to use the code present in a Bluetooth, where in which I have two different array lists. Basically, one is of an integer and another one is of a string. So I just want to use those two things in my current example. So I have a copy pasted a new class, and whatever the information we have in a previous class, I'm just deleting it, other than my, okay, other than my these names, other than my list, whatever the code you have, I just deleted that information. So this is a class which has list of numbers and again a list of names. That's it. I will be using these two things now. So first of all, example 1, for each on numbers. Okay, so what I'm going to do, numbers dot stream dot for each. Okay, so in this for each, what you want to perform basically, so basically whatever the elements is there, just print down that information. So I'm going to use system dot out dot println for each and every number I, system dot out dot println of I. That's it. On this particular numbers, whatever the number is there, just print each and every number. The similar way, names dot stream dot for each again, and name, the lambda expression, system dot out dot println name. So here the first example is going to print the numbers and second example is going to print the names using the for each. So it means it should apply on each and every value. See here, all the names got a retrieved and even all the numbers are got a retrieved. Okay, all the names and as well as the numbers got a retrieved using this for each loop. Perfect. Names and numbers and names using a for each loop. Perfect. Done the deal. So let me comment these two lines of a code. Let's go back and let's see another example we have. The next example out over there is a to array. So basically whatever the stream is there, completely convert it into an array. Basically my requirement is just to convert the whole thing into an array. So what I'm going to do right now, let's come back here. I have a numbers again, numbers dot stream dot to array. Basically, all the numbers are of an integer type. So what I need to do is integer of, and I'm just creating a new integer into an integer of number. Basically, these are the numbers that it's being stored. Okay, as we have an integer, I can use a for loop integer. Okay, I colon of what exactly the numbers we have in an n. Basically, system dot out dot println of I. That's it. I'm just printing down that information. See here, whatever the numbers we have, it will print down the whole numbers here. The similar way, let's try to convert the string also. Names dot stream of to array, and this time we are converting into a string, right? All the names are individual strings. Basically, colon colon of a new, so the whole thing is going to convert into string. P of is equal to, and I can use a for loop for string of x colon in every p system dot out dot println x. So when I run my test script, let me add a separator here so that you can distinguish more between the numbers and as well as the strings. So when I run my test script, see the given stream got converted into an individual arrays, and all the array elements of both the numbers and as well as this one were printed down to the console. Perfect. Done the deal. This is about to array method. And the next method that we are going to cover as part of a streams is basically stream off. So what is the significance of this stream off? So far we have seen examples on a streams basically that applies on a collection. Using this stream off, you can apply the stream on a group of numbers on any particular array. See here, what I'm going to do right now means stream off, right? See, basically the method that we have for this one is stream off. Why my stream off is not coming? Okay, stream off. Okay, so what I want to do with this particular stream of is, let's give the information. So I'm giving a group of integers basically. Okay, stream of 10, 20, 30, 40, all the values that I'm passing it out over here. And then on this one, I'm using a for each. Okay, so basically, I just 1 second, guys. Why my stream is not populating? Just a second. Let us see why this stream is not populating here. A minute, please. So, guys, basically, this is an import issue. So, let me delete this line. And whenever I mouse over on this particular stream, it is populating me to import the Java utils stream. Just import it. And now, these group of numbers were converted into a stream, and I can use whatever the methods you have on a stream. I can use those methods. So what I want to do is, as I have these many methods here, I just want to filter all the numbers. How exactly I want to filter all these numbers means a module by 2 is equal to 0. What exactly this means? I wanna collect all the objects basically which are of an even numbers. How many are there in an even numbers? Basically, I want to convert all these things. Now let me print this stream directly. Stream of the whole group of numbers we are converting into a stream, and we are printing that a stream outcome here. Perfect. This example is stream of stream on group of numbers. For suppose if you have a group of strings with you, basically string student name is equal to, I have my names, multiple names here, Radha, Madhu, Sneha. These are my names basically, and these are a group of strings, right? Stream dot off, I want to apply this stream on a student name. And now print each and every value on this particular name. Okay, so what I want to do right now, system.out.println. See, basically system.out.println of a. Let me comment out the earlier stream of numbers, and now I'm commenting the stream of, I'm just executing the stream of names right now. The stream of names were printed down over here. Okay, this is the way how exactly we can convert either an array or a group of values into a stream, and we can perform all the operations that we have studied. Like earlier we have studied about the sorted methods that I have implemented. Okay, I have implemented a filter method here. You can use a sorted down method for each method. All the methods that we have a min max methods that we have discussed, everything you can use it out over there, and even count also. Okay, cool. That's all I have, guys. See you again in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So far, we studied about the various concepts that we have in a Java 8 and its features along with the examples. And the next concept that we are going to cover out over here is a datetime API. We can also call it as an advanced datetime API in Java, basically. Okay, in Java 8. It has a various some methods for us, which will simplify the usage of a datetime functionality in our day-to-day lives. So the most frequently used classes inside this one are local date, local time, local date and time, period, year, zone ID, and zone date and time. So let us see each and everything with an examples now. So my requirement is to get a date, to get a current date. Local date D is equal to local date of now is a method which will be getting now the current date. If my requirement is to get the current date, we can use a now method. So when I run my program local date.now, it's going to get my current date and it's going to print that particular date. Okay, so this is what my current date is. And if at all your requirement is to get a time basically, so local time space t is equal to local time dot now is a method which will be getting down the current time. So here when I run my script, the both the date and time will be printed down to the console. Okay, see both the date and time will be printed down to the console. Perfect. Now let me comment this print statement so that it won't create any confusing. See, my requirement is I just want to get a current month. Okay, so whatever the date we are capturing from that particular date, I want to get the month. D dot get a month is the one which is going to get the current month. The similar way from the date, I just want to get the year. Okay, let me print that particular year too. The same way system.out.println date dot, okay, sorry, d dot, so we are storing the whole information in a d, right? So date of the month, what exactly the date of this particular month is. So we do have another method which is date of the year too. And even the next method that I want have on this day is day of a week. So basically I can get the day for a month, I can get a day for a year, and I can get a day of a week too. So when I run my program now, all the three dates will be retrieved and now it got a printed down to the console. So this is the way how exactly we can get the dates basically. Okay, I can get my month, year, and as well as a day as well. Okay, perfect. Let me comment these lines now. So let me comment it out. And if I want to get the time basically, so system dot t dot. So here I have a get hours, which will be getting down the hours basically. Okay, t dot get hours. The same way t dot hours minutes, and then t dot get seconds, and even we are going to get the nanoseconds too. So up to your wish, whatever the time you want, you can get that complete information. Earlier we captured all the information on a date, and now we are capturing the information on a particular time. Okay, so if my requirement is both the date and time, so my requirement is I just need to get both the date and time. We have local date time basically. Okay, local date time using which I can get at both the date and the time. And I'm naming it instance as a DT, local date time. Again, I'm using a now method which will be getting the current date and time. And now we can use the same methods. dt dot get. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry for this disconnects here. I'm extremely sorry for that. So dd dot get year. So this year it's going to get the current year. So there is no much difference between these things. We have a separate local date and local time, and we have this one is a combine of both the things. That's it. dt of a get, okay, day of the month. And anyways, just print down that information, and dt dot get month. And even the similar way, I can get the time information also. dt dot get hours. Okay, system dot out dot println and get hours, minutes, nanoseconds, and seconds also. We can get this information. When I run my script, the information is getting printed down to the console. That's it. So this is all about this local date and time. So the another thing is, so guys, if you observe when compared with an another scenarios, they need a lot of explanation and a bunch of methods in detailed explanation and all those things. But here the date time is a straightforward logic. That's the reason directly I'm showing with an examples now. Okay. And moreover, using this particular date time, you do have an option to set this date not only to the current year using a now, using an off, you can set it to any one of the previous years also. See here, local date, okay, time dt1 is equal to local date time off. And here I just want to go with maybe I can say 2010, okay, 2010. And I can go with the 12th month, and maybe the day is going to be the 10th. Okay, that's it. I have just specified this local date time of 2010, 12, and 10. Okay, add an argument to match this one. Okay, we have already all the arguments. So it's expecting a one more argument, year, day, month, and assume that I have a passed this argument to. Okay, and 10 seconds. Okay, I have a passed this much of time. And now what I need to do is you can perform any kind of an operation on this one. Maybe I can use dt dot plus, and I just want to plus my days, hours, minutes, months, years, all those things. Maybe I just gonna go with a plus years of 5. Okay, I just want to go with a plus years of a 5. System dot out dot a println plus years of 5. So I took a 2010 and I'm giving it as a plus years of 5. And not only this plus years of 5, we can use it on a off. You can use it on anything else basically. Okay, wherever you want, you can increment it or you can decrement it. If you want to go back, you can go with the minus. If you want to go back, move further, you can go with the plus operations. All these things we can perform these kind of an operations on this particular one. Okay, perfect. And the next one here is we already have a local date here, right? So on this particular local date, we can use particular period class. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is local date of now, and I'm storing it in a D1, and the same instance, the local date of, okay, I just want to go for 2010 again, and this time I want to go with a December month, month dot December, and I can pass the, okay, day of a month. Maybe I can pass 1. See here, basically my d1 is pointing to the current date, and my day 2 is pointing to that particular 10 years ago, previous years basically. Now I'm creating an object to a period p is equal to period dot between. So what is the time gap between this date 1 and as well as a date 2? So what is the time gap between this date 1 and as well as a date 2? System dot out dot println in terms of years. How many in terms basically you want to get it in a days, minutes, years. I would just want to get it in terms of an years itself. And now when I run my test script, the time gap between the current date and as well as that particular date got retrieved down. Okay, perfect, done the deal. So the 10 years, okay, that's fine. So this is all about the this method, which is Okay, this is all about this is a period method, peer method. And then the next method on top of this one is basically we have an year also. Year space of y is equal to year of, basically I'm passing 2012 again. This is my year basically. And for this system.out.println y dot plus years of a 3 or a 2. And now I'm passing 2012 and I'm incrementing that years by 2. The ultimate outcome, it's going to be 2014 as an year. That's it. And basically if your requirement is to specifically deal with a zone based timings, you do have an option in this particular one. Zone id z is equal to zone id dot system default. What exactly the system default id is there, it's going to get that particular id. So when I run my program, my current zone id it's going to get and it's going to print that particular information. Okay, and moreover using this zone, if you want to get a specific time zone for that particular zone, so zone id date time z1 is equal to zone id date time dot now, and whatever the specific time zone you want, just specify that particular time zone. Okay, so I just want to get this information for this particular id. Okay, so zone ID date time. I'm just changing it to zone ID date and time. I just changed this one. And now system.out.println Z1. So whatever that particular zone is there, that zone information will be printed down to the console. Okay, so of course we do have a hell lot of methods available in this particular one, but these are the most frequently used methods with respect to the date time APIs. Okay, cool, done the deal.